What's up, guys? Hartman here. We got some new contests in the lobby. Underdog was pretty busy this morning. They dropped 3 new contests. We got the German Shepherd Superflex, the Chihuahua, and then obviously on a Friday we got the Frenchie Friday. This year they're dropping a marathon, so kind of good to just see them like bringing back these formats. Obviously they didn't have the big sprint, big marathon formats this year like they did last year, but I like how they're doing it this year with the lower entry fees, just kind of time box contest, all these different versions. Like it's been really cool to see every Friday, just kind of new contests, new ideas, whether it's like, marathon sprint or just a different advanced structure. Um, but we'll talk about the marathon format just a little bit, and then we'll hop right into one. I'll probably be ripping a couple drafts today. I kind of want to do some of the super flex as well, but we're definitely going to start with the marathon, maybe rip 1 or 2 of these, then try out the super flex or Chihuahua streets. But yeah, so in the marathon, I think the biggest thing is like it's almost, to me, I guess I kind of view it like almost a blend of how you would view like eliminator and regular best ball, like best ball mania or something, where like you can't have just no floor, right? You can't go a full like 0 RB or something. Like maybe you could in a way if you modify it, like certain guys, something like that, but you can't just have no projected points or very low projections at the beginning and try to come on strong at the end, right? Those strategies just won't be nearly as viable in this kind of format. So I think that's kind of a big thing. I think the other thing to realize too is like this is a contest where you are directly playing against 22,000 people, right? There's no pods, nothing like that. You're playing against the entire field. So it really is you against 22,000 people. Granted, that's not like the hugest field, like a weekly winners or something with 180,000 people, but I think in a format like this where you're playing against the whole field, something like uniqueness, like pulling up certain guys, can actually be more valuable than in like a BBM or something. Because in a BBM, like you might have a really nice combo or really unique, like good combo, but it might get knocked out in the pods or something, right? It could get unlucky. Where in the Frenchie marathon, it's like you'll really be rewarded for having those like good combos, and you'll be rewarded even more if they're not like a common combo, right? Um, so I think that can be one thing. Like if you are someone who likes to kind of pull guys up and get unique, I think that this is a contest that's like probably best suited for where you are playing against such a big field for the entire tournament. Um, I think other than that, like certain guys will rise and drop. Like obviously a guy like Malik Neighbors or something. Like, and this kind of what I mean with some of the ideas from Eliminator maybe carry over, where a Malik Neighbors, if he misses 3 or 4 weeks, well, week 1 is just as valuable as week 17 for your lineup, right? So a guy like that should probably drop more than he should in a normal format, and maybe significantly more. Like maybe even like instead of 3-4 turn, it's more like 4-5 turn, or even a little bit later if the news is, if you're a little bit more down, you do think he will miss 3 or 4 weeks. That's a pretty big hit in marathon, where in normal formats you can just like kind of have the idea that you'll scrape by and get them to the playoff pods, and then all of the points before are erased, right? Where in marathon, I think some guys like that kind of change. Kind of similar idea with rookies too, right? Rookies are sometimes slow to start, come on a little bit later. So I think, they can be a little bit more case to case depending on the role that you think they'll have in their offense, stuff like that. And like how quick they'll have that role. But I do think in general, they usually should get moved down a little bit in this format, just because they're a little more likely to start slowly, kind of like underperform their overall ADP. But that is a little more case to case, like I'm saying. So, but I don't know, just like, the injured guys, stuff like that. I think it's a lot more difficult to just eat those zeros or eat like lower weeks. You really want that high projected floor and ceiling every week, right? Which is what you always want. But I think just certain guys, it kind of changes the math on where they're a good pick versus not. But all right, I think we talked through it, a decent amount. I mean, I don't think, like, at the end of the day, you're still trying to just build like good teams. Like you could build a BBM style team for the most part in this and still probably be okay. It's just I think the biggest thing is you can't have like no floor early. But you don't need to go as crazy as like eliminator where you're just like pounding running backs just because floor is all that really matters. This one's like you need to protect that floor, but you just you still need to shoot for the ceiling, right? So it really is just kind of about getting like your favorite picks in each round in a way, but it's also like I don't know, you just can't go with like too low a floor at any position, I don't think. If you want to push tight end or something, I mean, it's a low floor position as is, and maybe you pair up a couple late guys that work out, but yeah, in general, that's kind of just my thoughts on it. Um, so I think with all that said, we'll hop right in. I'll count it down first though before I hop in. But we're gonna go into the Frenchie marathon in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So waiting for 5 in the Frenchie marathon. Let's see, first down fantasy. I think this is a tourney where I would smash RBs early. I totally agree. I think you don't need to go quite as crazy as like Eliminator if you've been playing that at all. Like if you wanted to do like a double anchor and then wait a while, I think that can be pretty reasonable in marathon and really rely on the double anchor or something. But I do think getting that like high projected RB volume early, that can definitely work out. Like, and I think in this format, running back should be pushed up a little bit. Yeah, so I pretty much agree with that. Oh, what's up, first down fans? Thanks, stopping by, bro. I love the advance rate for the German Shepherd. Yeah, no, I really like the German Shepherd contest. I actually I had a finals team last year in the German Shepherd Superflex. I was kind of looking at it. The quarterback room was rough, but it was just like an insane running back room. And then in the finals, it kind of got washed because my running backs, like I had Gibbs and CMC, who I think Gibbs kind of disappointed, but like I don't know, they were okay in the finals, but then the rest of my team was kind of like built up on the running back. So when they didn't really carry me, then it didn't work out. So, but I mean, it made it. So it did pretty good. But yeah, no, 2 out of 12, 2 out of 10, 2 out of 12. I really like the 2 advancement. Like I prefer that to a 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6, because it just takes away some of that variance, right? Like if you just happen to be in the pod with some super high scoring team, your team's not just like dead, right? You just get like more variance taken out by being in that bigger pod. If you do have a better team, then it's like a better chance to actually make it through and not get like screwed on the pod luck. So yeah, no, I really like that structure as well. Basically 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6, but it's a 2 out of 2 out of 10, 2 out of 12. All right, so the marathon filled. We're in at the 1. Dreaming of Sundays at the 3. I don't know if they'd be watching. I know they're kind of like in the community though. I think that's pretty much it. If you're in here, let me know. But I think that's the only one I recognize. All right. So I think for me, it's just Jahmyr Gibbs. You could look at like overall schedule, stuff like that to kind of help decide. The Lions do have one of the easiest schedules. They have like the 4th easiest schedule in the NFL, I believe. It kind of depends what you look at, but I think just as far as like implied wins and like just like implied win totals of the teams that they play, right? They have like the 4th easiest schedule, I believe. So, that is kind of a nice little like upgrade. Like I think that is definitely something you can consider is like the overall schedule a team has. I do think maybe that gets factored in somewhat just in general, like I don't know, just in general drafting, but in general kind of where the guys go as well. Like I don't know. Like I don't factor it in. I guess what I'm saying is I don't factor in the schedule like crazy, I guess. It could just be like a good tiebreaker, right? If overall like one team has a really tough schedule, one team has a really easy schedule. I mean, I think that can always factor in as a tiebreaker, even in normal best ball. Obviously, in like the normal best ball, like Best Ball Mania or something, you're focusing more on the playoff weeks rather than like full season schedule. But I don't know. I definitely think the schedule can be a factor. I just wouldn't like overweight it. I wouldn't just like only try to go for, oh, these are the 5 projected easiest schedules, so I'll just go with these teams and just hammer them like crazy. I think I would be okay with like hammering player takes in this format because you are playing against the whole field, and it's like, you want that advantage, but hammering like teams, if you don't have super high confidence in the players, I just wouldn't weight scheduling like too much in that sense. Like I wouldn't let it like overtake whatever your player takes or just a general range and go like crazy reaching just for better schedules or something. I think it can be like a little bit of a tiebreaker though. And then, but really at the end of the day, it's mostly just about getting the best players who stay healthy all year, not taking zeros, right? And then just the best players that play healthy. I mean, sounds simple enough, right? But yeah, I don't know. There's not a ton different though, so it's not too intimidating getting the marathon format. First on fantasy, it gives you more variance to not solely have to slam QBs early. You could probably wait a bit longer on QB because you don't necessarily have to have the absolute slam team every week. Yeah, I actually pretty much agree with that. I think that's a pretty good take first on fantasy because because unless a QB really separates, right? Like unless you have an elite QB hit like one of those peak outcomes, and even then, maybe you don't need them, if the right team. I guess like if Josh Allen or Lamar have like the MVP year and they go like absolutely berserk, then it's like maybe you needed them. But in most situations, you can combine like someone from that Jared Goff, Kyler, Jordan Love tier or something like that, and then even get 2 QBs later and have like a 3 QB room that's super solid. Or like I don't know exactly how you build it, but like just kind of thinking through it, that's kind of what comes to my mind is like, oh, you could go, yeah, like in one of those QBs kind of in that 15 to 20 range, and then get like 2 more that go after that range or something like that, or 2 in that 15 to 20 range and just kind of wait, not spend the premium capital. I think I like that idea overall, because the big QBs, a big part of the reason is because that single week Josh Allen can drop the 50, right? Or the 40 something or 50, right? But when you take out that variance and at the end of the year, if he just finishes slightly above the other QBs, even if he is QB1, but you can like piecemeal it together, then yeah, I mean, I think I agree because they cost so much in this format too. I pretty much agree with that. Like you can, and quarterbacks have like the most parity, right? Like you can get a later like pocket passer, and if they do like pretty well on touchdowns, then then you're feeling like pretty good, or like they can really outperform ADP is what I was meaning to say. Sorry. All right, so we'll go Rice. I could go Brees. Well, I think I really like the running backs on the 4-5 turn. So I'll push it a little bit. I did get Gibbs the 101, so it's like we'll push it a little bit at running back, get 2 receivers here that I like. I've been a little bit hesitant on Pickens, but I think I've kind of come around. It's scary to me that he might quit on the team at some point or like not really put an effort at some point. But I do think just the upside of that offense is insane. Obviously, he's been one of the best red zone targets, or he was last year one of the best red zone targets in the NFL. And just like a touchdown machine. Like, I don't know, he did great in that offense even when CD was back. So I think Pickens is a totally reasonable price. It just worries me where the mental state is. And then Rice, I think, is a pretty solid pick too. I worry a little bit about with Kenneth Walker there, like that eating into his role some since he was kind of that like short yardage guy. But I think how they use him, like, I don't know, unless the Chiefs sign someone, I think I still feel pretty safe with Rice's overall like role there. So I don't know. That feels like a decent start. Gibbs, Rice, Pickens. I always feel pretty good with that. And then I'll definitely be looking at a running back on the 4-5 turn. At least one. Maybe even I double tap them because I don't really like the 6-7 turn running backs usually. So I might even double tap running backs on that 4-5 turn. Boom. Hey, what's up, Money Anything? Jeff T. Thanks for stopping by, bro. Appreciate it. But yeah, so we're in the marathon right now. Was happy to see him drop the marathon. They've been dropping all different kinds of contests. They've been keeping the lobby well stocked. For a few days they had a star room for contests. I did the BBM promo, but other than that, I was just ripping like eliminators if I was doing drafts. So those were some, a little bit dark days, but now we got the lobby all stocked up, feels good. Oh, see, and like this is what I was talking about. Like Neighbors at 34. I just I just don't think I would do that in this contest. And like I'm a guy who's pretty willing to take the risk on Neighbors, right? And you might disagree with that in general, but like I'm a guy who's willing to take the risk on him in general, but I think in this contest he needs to fall more. There's a good chance he misses the first 3 or 4 weeks, if not more, or he's just like maybe not even misses them, but if he just performs lower for the first month or two, right? It's like I don't know. You might not be able to eat that slump with him as your wide receiver one. Um, so I don't know. I just feel like in this format he needs to fall some. Uh, I mean, you could do like a team I did earlier was Ward, Mendoza, Tua, and Penix team. So have decent early week points and possibly higher upside later weeks. Kind of felt good. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that play, especially pairing up the Atlanta guys at the end. Like that way you lock in a starter no matter what happens, basically. Um, I think that can be a pretty good play. You know, I guess Ward has good upside. I guess they all have some upside, so it's probably okay. I was gonna say maybe I want like my first guy to be a little bit better, just like a guy I think can really like break into the top 10 or like something like that. But I guess Ward could realistically get there. And Mendoza could be there from like points per game if he gets in a little bit later or something. So yeah, no, that can be pretty good. And then you're spending really low capital. Your skill positions are all like maxed out. I don't hate it. And then you're keeping the QBs, like making sure you at least have starters to cover it. Uh, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting strategy. Definitely could be pretty viable. I think I think Monty makes sense here. Just give me a solid, reliable running back. Could have a good touchdown year, a la Joe Mixon 2 years ago, hopefully. But I don't know. I don't mind betting on Houston, and I think Monty will pretty clearly like take over the role. We also pair them back up, the Detroit boys. Do I want a guy like Swift? Yeah, I probably just want Swift. Yeah, that's fine. I was debating between Swift and Bucky or like Quinchon too. I like all of them. Like you can see my exposures around here are pretty flat. Um, so I don't know. I kind of like a lot of these running backs. I don't think you can really go wrong with like I don't know really any of them. I'm not the biggest Trevion guy, but it's mostly because I like these other guys. I think their roles are a lot stronger. Um, but I don't know, even him, just the upside. I mean, it makes sense to pick him around here too. It's just I think just all these running backs on that 4 or 5 turn are such strong picks. And that's why so often too I'm like pretty comfortable going away from running back on this turn. Or even like getting receivers and doing something like this guy did, like a 3 receiver straight start. Like I don't know, just because you can always get at least like one good running back somewhere on this turn and then feel like pretty good with that as your RB1, I think. Like I think, like Judkins even, like I feel like Judkins maybe has a little bit lower upside than some of the other guys on this turn, just because of mainly the team he plays on. I think he could hit the upside if he just hits on those breakaway runs, because he can be a breakaway runner in any given year if Judkins stays healthy. Like he could just hit on a higher percentage of his breakaway runs, a la like it wouldn't be exactly the same, but like Saquon Barkley 2 years ago. Like I'm not saying he would be Saquon, but just like Saquon hit on an absurd amount of breakaway runs. And, part of that was the offense and the system and the line and just everything about that team. But just Judkins as a breakaway runner, like that can kind of fluctuate how often that hits, right? That can be a somewhat variable stat, like year over year. So if he gets a little bit luckier with breakaway runs in a year, I think he can outperform ADP and hit that upside. But in general, his upside just feels a little bit lower than these other guys, unless he does hit on like some better variants like that, just because the team's so much worse. And the lack of pass catching, right? And like Judkins is a capable pass catcher, but Samson is just so much better. I don't know, maybe not so much better, but I think Samson is better as a pass catcher. He was really efficient last year, like one of the best running back pass catchers in the league. Obviously on a smaller sample, but he was really efficient last year. New system, all that. Like we'll kind of see how that goes. Like maybe they don't use Samson as much, but I think he did show at least like he deserves to be on the field sometimes over Judkins for those passing down roles. Money anything as a resident Kenyan, I excel in the marathon. Hell yeah, Jeff. Hell yeah. Yeah, no, got it in the genes. Paul, what's good, Hartman? I just did a marathon with FanSpeak out of the one hole. Started Bijan Pickens, ETM myself. Oh, nice. I like that start. I mean, I think pulling up Travis Etienne, that feels totally fine. And then that is kind of one of those things too. Like he's definitely one of those guys where you probably move him up for the schedule overall. Like I'm not saying you specifically, but just in general, like the Saints, like, any NFC South team really. I mean, like they should all maybe get a little bit of a bump in this format because their schedules are just going to be so good. Their division's so bad. And the Saints have a really nice schedule. So see, I like that call. See, like this is a spot like Jordan Tyson would be okay. But that's a spot where maybe the rookies worry me a little. Okay, I had Swift. I knew I picked a bear. I mean, Caleb with Swift is fine. I don't mind that. Caleb runs a lot, so that's good. I think it's DK over these other guys. I was kind of trying to decide on a receiver, and then I knew I didn't really want Tyson or Lemon, so I kind of pivoted to quarterback there. That's fine. I mean, I don't mind it. The stacks, like it's not like you want to overstack like crazy in eliminator or not eliminator in marathon, but it's not the best stack. I mean, Caleb with Swift, it's a little bit weak, honestly. So not the best to be honest, but it's okay. I mean, it's an okay stack. I don't mind it. Yeah, see, I definitely would have taken Marvin Harrison if he made it. And Jordan Tyson would have been okay, but I do think I want to move him down a little. He's dealing with the injuries. He is a rookie. Could be a little bit slower starter there. I think that should be a little bit of a move down. I do think he was probably the top receiver left to me. I think DK's in a similar tier, though, so we opted for DK. I think that Caleb pick's okay. I think structurally it makes sense. And, the correlation's enough. I mean, Swift does catch passes, so the correlation's enough. It's just not a move I'm like trying to do all the time, obviously, or anything like that. Oh yeah, yeah. No, but that's a nice start. Yeah, and I saw they had what they Willie Pop. They have Willie Pop on. I was watching. I was watching most of that. I caught the whole part with Papa Shoup and or Willie Pop, and then I caught most of the marathon that Meg did. So yeah, always good content over at the FanSpeak Network. Mendoza is a tough click in this format. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think like some people are really pushing back on that. Like they're saying, first overall pick, when's the last time they ever sat for so long, blah, blah, blah. But I do really think that I don't know, like he'll at least probably miss the first 4 or 5 weeks, if not more. If Kirk looks okay, he could miss even more. And yeah, just in general, I mean, missing those couple weeks, like, and I don't know, he might miss half the season. He might miss the whole season. Maybe Kirk looks decent. Maybe the Raiders don't care because they're playing for a draft pick. Maybe they're deciding, hey, we're not winning anything this year anyways. Let's just let our number one overall pick learn and, sit most of the year. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm a little bit more shaky on Mendoza in general. I actually I wonder, yeah, like I have 2.7% Mendoza just kind of in general. I would be okay with upping my Mendoza, I guess, in general, but I'm a little bit more like I'm not as confident he just starts like week 4, like a lot of people seem to think, or even sooner, starts week 1, just washes Kirk in camp. Because I don't know, I don't really think the Raiders have this thought. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like I just don't think the Raiders are going to be like a really competitive team in general. Maybe they'll be okay. I mean, Genty and Bowers, the defense is okay. I guess they did add a lot on the defense, and then they got Crosby back. They added a lot before he got traded away. Or, they added a lot, traded him away, and that didn't go through, so they still got him back and added a lot of talent. So, maybe the defense is a little bit better. I mean, I don't know. I guess kind of my thought was like maybe if they're like not that good, maybe they just kind of still let Mendoza sit because they're not trying to save the season to like maybe push for the playoffs at the end or something. I mean, Kubiak's not on the hot seat. The GM's not on the hot seat, I don't think. So it's like everyone's pretty much safe. They don't really need to like push to throw Mendoza into the fire. Um, all right, so here some quarterbacks go before me, so kind of works out maybe that I got the Caleb. I think we lock up another running back here. I think just one more running back, then we can kind of ignore it for a while. We'll go Rico. We got him on a little bit of a faller. Really love seeing that. That's one of my highest owned players, so get him on a faller feels pretty good. Um, I mean, I think Downs feels pretty good too. I don't want Pittman because I already had DK. A lot of times there I'm just grabbing Pittman, but I think Downs is a really good pick. And I don't know. I haven't liked that Downs has moved up, but I think right here it feels okay. It feels pretty reasonable. And I did need a little bit more help at receiver, right? That's just my fourth receiver. So I think that makes sense there. Not really many great quarterback options for me there. So I think the receiver pick makes sense, and Josh Downs is a fine pick there. And then Dowdle, I don't know. I was thinking about Dobbins too, but Dowdle is kind of my pick in that Pittsburgh backfield. Kind of has more like I think he'll be the goal line back. I think that he'll get more receiving work than maybe some of the Warren Bulls are thinking. I think Warren will have more receiving work, of course, but I think Dowdle will get a good amount of the receiving work, and he'll really dominate that goal line. And I think that's kind of the difference of what Warren did in that role last year and what Dowdle will do, because Warren was never able to really consolidate goal line, and Gainwell took a lot of that still. And it's like, I think Warren could be the guy like Gainwell where he still is like getting a ton of catches and he like really ramps up in the receiving department. But I think Dowdle will really dominate the goal line, take away a lot of that short yardage, like Warren wasn't able to do to Gainwell. And I think that'll be kind of the difference. Like, I think that's what makes Dowdle, I don't know. I like him just a lot more than Warren, and I think that's what just makes him so valuable. I think he'll still have some of that receiving work, but I think he'll dominate the short yardage. Um, I don't know. That's just kind of how I've been thinking about the Steelers backfield, and it's like I don't know. Obviously, I picked it that way. I picked a little bit more Warren. I do think that receiving role is valuable. I do think there will be a lot of points to go around for both of them. So I'm not trying to really fade Warren or anything like that. But or like I'm not trying to really like hard fade him or anything. I still want some, but I just think Dowdle's role will be overall better, more fantasy friendly, and I don't know. I just think Andy's a cheaper price, right? That helps too. And he's just been, back to back 1,000-yard seasons. Like he's been a really good rusher 2 years in a row. And I think that continues. He's back with Mike McCarthy. That's who he succeeded with at first. That's who kind of rose him up the depth chart and actually gave him a chance and he succeeded. And now he's back with McCarthy. They signed him to a pretty good deal and bring him in. Jalen Warren, looked good last year, but he's in a whole new system, whole new coach. The coach brought in Rico Dowdle and paid him a pretty nice contract. And I don't know. I think Rico Dowdle is a great fit in the system. That's why he was brought in. He's worked under this coach before. I think there's a reason for that. I don't know. That's why I don't know. I'm just really in on Rico Dowdle though. I really like him over even over Warren. Considering the advancement, I'm taking some shots like that. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair because you don't need to advance. And if even just Cam Ward is like a good value, right? Or like any of those guys are just a good value where they go, like or not a good value, but they just outperform that ADP. Sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry, I noticed I was like fading. There we go. All right, so but yeah, I think if any of those guys really outperform, you can get like, a top 12, like a low end QB1 or something, then all that extra value you were able to put at your skill positions can really make the difference. And I think that totally makes sense. I'm thinking about Kyler. I do think I probably want to stack though, but Kyler runs a lot. And this cheap, do I really care if it's on stacked? I think I just take Kyler. I think that's too good of a price. None of the other good QBs are left. I think that's a huge tier break to me to the next tier of QBs. So I think we just go Caleb, Kyler, Dobbs, KC. I think maybe we take a little bit bigger swing and go for KC over Dobbs here. because I think I have some floor guys already. Like I think getting Josh Downs was kind of the thing that pushed me to KC. Go for like a little bit less safe floor, a little bit higher upside guy with KC over Romeo Dobbs. Dobbs could have pretty good upside. He plays on the Patriots. He has been a pretty good red zone scorer too in his career. Like, he has multi-touchdown games like basically every year on the Packers. So, but I think Casey Conception just gives me more overall like true upside than Dobbs does, as like kind of being stuck as the wide receiver 2 at best on the Patriots, where Casey could be like clear receiver 1, obviously on a worse team, but he could be clear receiver 1. He's a first round pick, and going this late as a first round pick, I think is a pretty good value. So I don't know. We'll lean a little more for the upside of Casey. We go with the on-stat Kyler as well. I think his rushing upside's there. I think every season he has been a top 12 points per game quarterback. And it's just, I don't know. I think when he's fully healthy, this is the best talent he's ever played with easily. No one is compares with Justin Jefferson. Very few players do it all, right? And it's like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and then having Kevin O'Connell as his play caller. I just think Kyler Murray set up in a spot to smash. And I really don't get the case against him. Like, he's just been one of the best fantasy producers at quarterback every year when he's played. Like 2 years ago when he was coming off the torn ACL, that was the only time his rushing really went down. It still came right back up the next year when he was fully healthy 2 years ago, right? Like we saw him have, I think it was around 500 rushing yards 2 years ago. Yeah, almost 600, 572 rushing yards. And it's like, of course, the year before was lower, but he was coming off the torn ACL. We saw him bounce right back to like kind of what he was doing before, putting up a 300 fantasy point season. And that was on the Cardinals. And I just think it's a better play caller he's never played with. It's better talent than he's ever played with. I just think he's set up to really smash on that team. I think Kyler Murray's going way too cheap. QB, way too cheap might be a little bit of hyperbole, but QB 17 I do think is too cheap. I think you could really argue Kyler with definitely anyone that went in the 9th round, Goff, Stafford, Knicks for sure. Mahomes, Purdy. I think actually like Purdy, Mahomes, I think those are pretty comparable, especially if you consider Mahomes is probably losing some of that rushing production just coming off the injury. I think you could argue Kyler's upside is like similar to the guys in round 8. And I don't really think that's too far of a stretch when you look at like just any season the dude's been healthy. He's top 12. I don't know. It's just, he's consistently been a really good fantasy performer every time he's on the field. And, now he's like really cheap and he should be like pretty healthy right now. And on a good team. Raiders schedule isn't too terrible, and he could be in for that week 17 versus Arizona. I usually take Mendoza in 3 QB builds because that way you have some solid QB points and stand a chance to smash week 17. I think I can see that. And I can see a lot of the case too, where it's like Mendoza, even though they don't want to start him, maybe they do start him like halfway through the year, something like that, right? Or even like after the bye, maybe they're like, okay, well, we got 12 games of Kirk. We're not super competitive. Maybe they do actually manage to bench the first pick for as long as they say they want to. But it's like maybe week 14 he starts, and then it's like, okay, you got him for the playoff weeks like you needed. So yeah, I don't mind that. And there is also a chance he starts early, right? Like I'm kind of in the camp too where I think Kirk might have enough juice to keep him on the bench for longer than like 3 or 4 weeks, but I do think there's also a very real chance Mendoza is starting pretty early, and their playoff schedule is pretty nice. I do agree with you there. All right, so we're up. It's probably we'll go Brenton Strange. I think I need a tight end more than anything else. The quarterbacks, do they interest me at all? Does Daniel Jones interest me? Maybe, because I do have Downs. So Danny Dimes is a little bit interesting. Other than that, I don't really like Jawan where he goes. Trey Tucker would be fine. Another tight end would also be fine. I think I'm going to let it take Daniel Jones, though. My running backs are already pretty strong. My receivers are okay. They're a little bit weaker, but I don't really love this range. So I think going for my 3rd QB there and someone I at least have stacked up, that feels okay there. And, I do think like that makes more sense. That kind of protects my floor. But Daniel Jones also can spike later in the year, right? Especially if he's healthy later. I think he can give me spikes, like pretty legit spikes on that team. He showed it last year. So I don't know. I don't mind him as my third QB. And I think my other rooms are strong enough. Like running back, Gibbs, Monty, Swift. I'll actually read off the team quick. I haven't done that. So I have a 3-4-5-1 right now. We're in the marathon. So I have Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones at quarterback, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, and Rico Dowdle at running back, Rashee Rice, George Pickens, DK Metcalf, Josh Downs, Casey Conception at receiver, and then Brenton Strange at tight end. So I feel like my team's coming along pretty good, pretty well balanced overall, actually. Like, I don't feel super weak with any room. I feel like receiver is definitely my biggest weakness. I mean, you could say tight end too, but I don't worry as much about tight end, especially not yet. But I think you could say receiver feels a little bit weaker, maybe. DK and Downs is 3 and 4. It's not the best, but it's probably serviceable. But I think receiver is probably where I'm looking the most at help, and then maybe tight end as well. That's probably what I'm looking at next turn. But I mean, so far it feels like it's coming together pretty good. Feels pretty well balanced. I think I'm pretty happy with how it's coming together. Money and thing. Last year, the Giants were saying it would be a redshirt year for Jackson Dart. He was playing by week 3. Mendoza starting by 4. Yeah, I mean, I think Kirk still has some juice. I do wonder if I guess the big thing to me that worries me about Kirk, like I think Kirk, you kind of saw the arm talent, like it's kind of, the zip's not really there anymore. And what really worries me is Kubiak did a lot of rushing and then play action, right? So it's like, how well can Kirk really run that offense? Are they going to try to like design around him and not do as much of that with Kirk in the game? Mendoza will probably be a lot better at running that. Maybe Kirk will be a little bit better, more removed from his injury, but I don't know. It's just Kirk kind of doesn't totally have the juice anymore. I do think he's like good enough to not get like straight up benched right away, but it's tough. It is tough with the Kirk thing because I do think he's good enough. I do believe in the Tom Brady narrative. I do believe that that's a real thing too. Like him having real control over that team, or a real voice in the building, not control per se, but a real voice in the building. I do think him really wanting to hold that, like hold the young guy back and do that, like kind of weight on him. I do think that'll carry a lot of weight in the building. Sorry, I noticed that was coming up. All right, so I don't mind Debo. Do I want a tight end though? Because I probably want a tight end here. I don't mind Varner. I don't have as much of him, but I do think he's a good pick. I pick a lot of the guys that go right after him, so we'll get a little bit more Varner there. I'm kind of leaning Debo. I kind of like Brian Robinson. I think, like I was saying, receiver feels a little bit weaker, so I think we go Debo here. I think that makes I think that makes the most sense to go Debo.
Don't let me near your cookout. I'm a lion, say I'm somebody. Uncle, brother, cousin, let me get a plate. Run up in your house like I'm getting into real estate.
All right. We got the Debo pick in there. Had to hit the little Debo clip. But yeah, no, I think Debo is a good pick there, just because I think like as late as he goes, just when he signs, he had a pretty good role last year. He looked pretty good when Jaden Daniels was healthy. He did kind of fall off later, but he looked decent. He got some good red zone usage actually pretty early in the season too. So I don't know. I just think as late as he goes, wherever he signs, he'll probably have a role getting decent usage, right? He's not just going to be on the bench, I don't think. So I think there's a lot of spots open that can definitely use a guy like Debo, like just that are pretty weak receiver rooms, right? Like the Raiders are definitely out there. He could go back to the Commanders. He was already there. Could go back to the Niners. I mean, I don't know if they really need him, but could go there, even could go to Miami. Obviously, they could use any receiver help they could get. But I do think there are teams that could work out for Debo. And I do think, he has a unique skill set. If he goes to the right coach, they'll probably use him in the red zone, probably give him some rushes even. So I do like him as late as he goes. I think he'll have a role in, I don't know, the way he gets utilized in like good offenses, it seems to be like it's pretty valuable for fantasy, right? Like he gets a lot of those like red zone usage or just a lot of like designed opportunities, like screen passes, stuff like that. So I don't know, I kind of like that for a guy that, goes this late where he's going to get like design touches and stuff like that, especially in the red zone. Brian 240, is Hill worth even drafting? I guess someone you can cut early from your team, redraft. Tyreek Hill. What's up, Brian? Thanks for stopping by, bro. Appreciate it. I think you're talking about Tyreek Hill. I mean, you must be. I think if he goes in the last round and you're talking redraft, it depends what round he goes in. But if he's a very last round pick, then why not, right? Why not pick him and see if he signs to a team before the season starts? Also another thing, like you might have an IR spot. So then it might be like if he can sign before the season starts, you might be able to put him on IR and then just like go pick someone up. So I think depending how free he is, yes. But if he's like cost prohibitive at all, like depending on your redraft league, like what the ADPs are, like if he's more than like a last like round or two pick, I'm probably just avoiding it. I don't think he'll be on the field before like November at the earliest, and even then that might be pushing it a little. And I just don't really think he's going to get a ton of playing time right away. I think if anything, he'll probably try to sign to a team that's like more playoff bound. That'll kind of ramp him into the playoffs. And then that's kind of when he'll maybe be playing more full time, like into like the NFL playoffs, I'm saying. All right, so we'll go Katron over Ray Davis. I think Katron has a better chance to establish a role. Then I think Ray Davis is really just an injury contingent. So, I kind of lean more towards the guy that can establish a role, especially in the marathon format. What am I doing here? A tight end wouldn't be bad. My tight ends are kind of bad. So I wouldn't mind grabbing a Pat Freiermuth, just a solid starter. Give me a third guy, a different bye week. That feels fine. We'll go receiver last round, kind of balance that out. I think this team's coming together. It's coming together pretty good. But yeah, I think last couple of rounds. Is there a fear with Jalen Wright taking a backseat to Rico as the season goes on? Oh, Jalen Warren. Or do you think he has a safe floor as an RB2 and a 14-teamer? I think that Jalen Warren could take a backseat to Rico. I actually prefer Rico to Jalen Warren straight up, honestly. I personally think that Warren is a safe lower end RB2. Or like a safe like floor RB2 because he has such a good receiving game role. I do think when you look at Dowdle though, he has better receiving chops than people give him credit for, right? He had 39 catches both the last 2 years. He's had a very similar number of receptions to Warren. I think that Warren is a better receiver overall though, and definitely a better pass blocker. So I think Warren will be safe with that role and will give you safe RB2 floor, but I do think he'll struggle to get much of a goal line role because like when we look at Warren, and this kind of what I was talking about earlier with him is like, you look at his touchdown numbers, right? So he had 1, 4, 1, and then he breaks out for 8 touchdowns. He's never even had a receiving touchdown before last year. And then you see the recent report on him too, slims down to 205. So, he's lost some weight. He's trying to get slimmer. I think the way that this offense will go is Warren will take a lot of the receiving work and be kind of in that Gainwell role. But I am worried that like Gainwell and Warren really split that goal line role last year. And I think that Rico could really consolidate the goal line role in a way that Warren and Gainwell weren't really either able to. And I think kind of the way they've talked about Warren, like talked about him slimming down, getting more like, just like kind of more pass catching stuff, right? Like working out wide, like, getting more route running, stuff like that. It's like, I think Warren is kind of being set up almost in a role like what Gainwell was last year, but I worry it might have a little bit less of that, like goal line rushing or like short yardage rushing work. And I think that could be pretty valuable in like kind of why I like Rico a little bit more. I think the touchdowns could be a little bit higher. It also depends on format. I think in full PPR, it becomes probably Warren over Rico, even for me. It is very close though. But I think like even full PPR could be enough to swing it. I think both of them could be pretty good picks, though. I think that Pittsburgh backfield will have a lot of points to go out. They're going to be pretty run heavy, probably. The defense should still be pretty good, even with Tomlin gone. So I think neither one of them are bad picks, but I personally lean a little bit more towards Rico for those reasons. I do like his pass catching trait in PPR. Okay, yeah, and in full PPR, I can kind of see it, like why you would go Warren over Rico. That kind of makes sense to me. I'm here for the beer. Hell yeah, Charles. Unfortunately, I don't have a beer on me. Might have one in the fridge. Maybe, I don't know, maybe, but it is a little bit early. I mean, I guess you were getting it popping though. I woke up early this morning. I didn't even have work today. I woke up at 5:30 just to see Charles get on Chad Candle's stream. That was a good time. He was giving us a good ASMR with the beers in the morning. Another pop about every 5 or 6 rounds. But no, that was a good time seeing you on Chad Candle's stream this morning, Charles. Really enjoyed that. That was I've seen you a few times too. I think I don't know if you were on Chad's stream before, but I remember one time I watched you on the Bash. I think I know you were on the Bash once. So, but always that was definitely a good time. Rashad Bateman, Keon Coleman, why not? Keon Coleman, third-year breakout. You know that it's coming. It was the very last pick of the draft. No one really went with my guys, and none of the names really stuck out to me. None of them were speaking to me. So we went with third-year breakout on the Bills, Keon Coleman. Will he really be a third-year breakout? I don't know, but he was a first-round pick. He's super athletic. He's super young. He plays with Josh Allen. The GM is trying to do everything to say that, he was still a good pick and they're going to try to play him. So we'll give him a shot. At pick 216, there wasn't much left. We couldn't even get Tyreek Hill in this draft. So we'll give Keon a shot with the last pick. I don't mind it. If anyone else is in here, let me know. But if not, we'll probably rip another. We'll probably be doing, I guess, let me know if any of you guys have a preference. I kind of want to do a super flex, but I can do Chihuahua. I can do the marathon deal. I could do the, or the super flex, the German Shepherd. But I'll go over my team quick and then we'll figure out what we want to hop into next. So I did a 3-5-7-3, and this is the marathon. I have Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones at QB. Feel like my QB room is pretty solid overall. Definitely like it. Wish I could have got a little bit more correlation. Like, I don't think you want to overstack in the eliminator because it can hurt your floor. Because like if that team kind of takes a dive a certain week, that can really hurt, especially if it's early capital and you really want to avoid the low weeks. But I do think some more stacking on this team would have been nice. So would have liked to see that. Got a little bit uncorrelated, but got some decent prices at least on the QBs. And then we went Gibbs, Dave Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Rico, Katron Allen. Feel like it's a strong enough running back room, right? Really like my top 3. I think they're all very solid starters, like clear RB1s on their team. Swift and Gibbs play on really good teams. I have kind of hopes that the Texans will step up, but I think Monty will really take over touches on that team. I think Rico is a good pick where he goes. I was kind of talking a decent amount about the Warren Rico thing, but I think either one can be a good pick. I got him on a little bit of a fall or two, so I think that feels pretty good. And then Katron, just a rookie with some upside, kind of a weaker backfield. Maybe he can emerge as like a goal line or short yardage back. That's kind of what he's suited for. And then at receiver, we go Rashee Rice, George Pickens, DK Metcalf, Josh Downs, KC Conception, Deebo Samuel, Keon Coleman. Kind of like I was saying, the receiver room does feel a little bit thinner. It feels okay to me. Like my top 2 are pretty strong. Like I was saying, Pickens does worry me a little with the quitting on the team stuff last year, but we'll see how he goes. It is a contract year. He's not getting tagged this time. He's probably actually going to get a contract. So maybe he's still playing hard at the end of the year. And in the early weeks matter, right? So great time for George Pickens. DK Metcalf, Downs, I think are okay as my 3 and 4. It just feels, I guess those guys feel okay. it just feels like the guys after them, they're a little bit scarier with KC, Debo, Keon. Not really sure what their floors will be or ceilings, but I think overall it's okay at receiver. My top four are strong enough. And then at tight end, Strange, Barner, Frarmuth, it's fine. It's a late tight end. It's kind of a little bit of a punt tight end build, but it is 3 solid starters, should have decent roles in their offense. So I think overall team feels pretty solid. Receiver I think could have used maybe a little bit more help, but I think overall it feels pretty solid. I think yeah, I feel pretty good with it. All right, we ripping another. Yeah, we will rip another. All right, whoever says it first, we can either do German Shepherd, Chihuahua, or Frenchie Marathon. If anyone has an opinion, drop it in the chat. I'll go with whatever the first suggestion is out of those 3. Maybe I should take Rico over Warren then. I guess the thing is, you're talking redraft. If you're in full PPR, I think it becomes really, really close. But in full PPR especially, I really don't think you're going too wrong with either one. I think the Steelers are always one of the better rushing offenses, always one of the highest like rushing opportunity share too. I think the one thing too that worries me is maybe I don't know, maybe not. I was gonna say they switched the coordinators, maybe without R.D. Smith and Tomlin, maybe you don't trust it quite as much. Obviously McCarthy can be a little bit more pass heavy. But I do think with how the team's set up, he's not on Dallas anymore. They don't have a super high play rate. They're not going with Rodgers. And then they do have a really good defense now. So they probably will be pretty run heavy. I think either one is fine in full PPR. They both can be good. I think they're both good values because realistically you're paying high end RB3. If not, you're paying high end RB3 prices for either one. So I think they're both good bets to outperform their ADP where they go. Because I think they're rated so low when it's actually a pretty good team for rushing efficiency overall. And they throw to running backs a lot. Rodgers always will throw to running backs a lot. So I think they're actually just kind of a really underrated rushing situation as a team. But yeah, in full PPR, I think you can really make the case for either. It is a tough call. I would probably I might still lean Rico. I don't know. It's tough. I'm kind of I'm a pretty big Rico guy though. So I might be being a little bit too biased. In full PPR, it might lean to Warren. That's a tough one though. I think my best take is that Kyron is the Amon-Ra of RB, super safe and good offense. Is that an Enron hat? Yes, it is. Enron hat. Smartest guys in the room. I like the Enron hat. They paid a lot of money to make that logo, and it was a fire logo, so I can see why. But I can kind of see that. I worry a little bit about Corum taking a little more work, but I think overall Kyron, worst case, as long as he stays healthy, worst case, he slightly underperforms, and most years he just slightly overperforms. And, last year, he was a little bit lower on the touchdown, still slightly overperformed his ADP. But if the touchdowns bounce back a little bit this year, then he could easily overperform, even if Corum takes a little bit more work. And there's no guarantee Corum actually does take more work. He took a decent amount last year. Maybe that's kind of the split they want to keep. So I can kind of agree with that take. Kyron's just safe. He's not going to have a 300-point crazy breakout unless the TD variance really breaks his way, but he's also not going to hugely disappoint you at his spot. Your QBs are well distributed. That I did kind of layer it out pretty good with them, I guess. The Caleb pick was a little questionable because I didn't have the stacking, but it was good prices on him though. I did like that. Keelan Coleman breakout is likely as Hartman's favorite golfer, Patrick Harrington, winning the Open Championship. Yeah, no, I mean, hey, you never know. The old dog might got some new tricks up his sleeve. You never know, Jeff. You never know. But hey, Keon Coleman, I remember last year, week 1, he had a touchdown catch, and I was like, oh man, Keon Coleman, is he really gonna break out? Did I miss the biggest breakout? Not quite. I didn't quite miss it, but never was it never wrong just early. Keon Coleman, we've just been waiting all this time. But no, I think realistically with them, the breakout chance is pretty low. I do think though he plays on a really great team and plays with Josh Allen. He is a young player, was a first round pick. Like I do think all that obviously is like true. I'm not sure how good he'll be. I don't think he's going to be that good, to be honest, but he is a big body guy too. He can be good in the red zone, hopefully. So I think maybe he can get there if he can actually get on the field. Like they've been trying to hype him up too. They've been trying to talk him up. We still believe in Keon, he's still going to have a role, blah, blah, blah. He's a big part of our plans, blah, blah, blah. But it is true. It's a little hard to believe. Keon breakout as low as Aaron Rodgers winning the PGA Championship. Oh, well, yeah. Lottery. Yeah. Yeah, no, the Keon breakout. Hey, I pick 216. We run out of names, but no, that's fair. Chihuahua. All right, we'll do a Chihuahua. All right, yeah, we'll do a Chihuahua, but I will keep catching up with you guys after we hop in. So I'll count it down, and then we're gonna hop into the Chihuahua. I think. Yeah, I'll count it down. We'll hop in, and then I'm gonna grab some water quick, and then I'll catch up with you guys. So, all right, we're going to get in the Chihuahua in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're in, waiting for 2. Let's put that up. All right, waiting for 1. All right, filled. All right, I'll be right back, guys, and then we'll see who got in, and then I'll catch up with you guys. All right. Oh. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Had to grab some water quick. But all right, so we got in. So we're in the Chihuahua. Let's see who got in. Looks like we got 0 in here at the 4 spot. I think that's the only one I recognize. If anyone else got in here, let me know. But I think only 0. So, good to see. I mean, I like the friends and family drafts, but they can be a little bit difficult sometimes. So don't ever really mind seeing that. Chihuahua, basically just building it like a BBM. I mean, we'll go over the structure in just a second, but, not too much difference there, really. Do we go JT, CMC? I have a little bit less CMC. Let's get some more. Why not? I like JT a little bit more than CMC. I've kind of mentioned it before. I think CMC obviously has a bigger workload. Like, he's going to get used more in the receiving game. I think overall his offense is probably better, too, with Christian McCaffrey, that is, over Jonathan Taylor. But I think overall, you just look at it, Jonathan Taylor's ability as a breakaway runner is clearly like he still has it, where I don't really think CMC has that ability anymore, at least not like consistently like he used to. Overall, the volume, if CMC stays healthy, just with his usage and volume, obviously he was RB1 last year and he wasn't crazy efficient, so he can still get there. Everyone was hurt on the Niners. You don't expect him to maybe have like 400 plus touches, but if people stay healthy this year, but I do just think his usage, even if he is a little bit lesser of a player than he used to be, makes him worth it. But a lot of times I'm going Jonathan Taylor because I think he's one of the only other players in the NFL that can hit that like 85, 90% plus usage rate. And he does have that explosive breakaway ability. Like I was saying, though, a little bit more question marks with his overall team with Jonathan Taylor than there is with CMC. So, they kind of go back and forth in that sense. But I don't mind grabbing some CMC here and there. I'm going to be a little bit lower on him, 30-year-old running back coming off 400 touches. Not usually the best combo, but if he stays healthy, that workload is just so insane. Such a great team. Great play caller. You can't fully fade CMC. If he stays healthy, he can easily just be RB1 again, just like he was last year. HA and Chase Brown. Drake London, Nico. Let's go Nico. Why not? I don't have any Nico with CMC. I guess I don't have any Chase Brown with CMC either, but that's fine. I'm not too worried about it. I like Nico a lot. We'll pull him up a little. I was thinking about those running backs. A lot of times I just grab a running back there, but I don't mind pulling up a receiver, going with a little more balanced start rather than like the double anchor like I do most of the time. So yeah, definitely don't mind that. I think too, I'm gonna try to update my portfolio real quick. That way it's all like up to date and stuff. I think I only have like 105 of my teams in or something, and I have 130 something. So, it could change some of these exposures a little bit, especially some of the guys I've been trying to catch up on. Like I know some of the guys are, like Lad, like I was trying to catch up on him a little bit, I think. I got a little bit more Tet, you can see. But yeah, my Lad went up from like 8 to like almost 10%. So I've gotten a little bit more him. All right, I think we're all updated now. All right, cool. I'll go back to the board quick. Sorry about that. But yeah, I just wanted to update my exposures quick, make sure they're all right. Shit. Oh wait. Dude is always a value RB1. Yeah, no, it's true. Like he goes as like RB12, 13, finishes like RB9 like every year. And he does have the good spike weeks too, right? Because he can get so many touchdowns on that offense. You can see I'm a little bit of a Kyron hater. I'm not going to lie to you. But I think what I worry about with him a little bit is like you do look at the consistency, but you do see his carries kind of fall from 2024 to 2025. And then you see Corum really take a big jump in his touches. Like he goes from 58 to 145, really takes a lot of work. I just worry that maybe they get closer to being like both close to 200 touches or 200 carries. I do think Kyron will have a better receiving game role. He probably always will. But I do worry about the carries getting a little bit closer. And Corum did take away a lot of those touchdowns, right? Like you see Kyron's touchdown numbers, and it's his lowest touchdown year in the last 3, right? It's his lowest out of the last 3. So I think the Corum thing worries me a little bit. It basically is that thing where I think Kyron can still pay off, but I really question, like, does he have any upside beyond where he goes? In a best ball sense. Now you're talking mostly redraft, and I think that is completely different. I think in a redraft sense, Kyron can be a great pick because he's very consistent and he's getting his touches, he plays on an amazing team. I think he makes a lot of sense there, but I think in the best ball, it makes him a little bit worse pick. But in redraft, I think I really agree with your sentiment. I still do worry a little bit about the whole I like Garrett Wilson probably a little bit more than Luther, but I don't have hardly any Luther. Garrett also had the same buy as Zay. So we'll go Luther, get a little bit more of him, but usually I'm probably Garrett Wilson over him. But so to kind of put a bow on it though, I do think I agree with you with the redraft sense. I just pick a little bit less in best ball because I worry about his overall like upside to beat that pick. But I think in redraft, when you're just playing against your league, the math is kind of different, right? You're not playing a giant tournament. It's just your league. So if you can get a solid locked in guy, then that's way more valuable in redraft than like it's super valuable in best ball too, but like the upside matters so much more in best ball, right? Like you see a guy like Trevion in best ball, Trevion Henderson goes at pick 51. I think that would be a terrible pick in redraft. I mean, maybe running backs are moved up, but I think him going over like Quinshawn and Bucky and Bashal Tutin would make no sense in redraft. It's all about him having the ability to put up like 30 points later in the year in a given week. But like in redraft, like you want the guy actually starting. You can't handle Trevion when he does like 6 points because it was a Ramondre week, right? But in best ball, you just eat it because you auto get him on the best week. So even though it's not exactly what I draft, I do think in the format that you're talking about, it totally makes sense. He's already up to 10 in the past 3 years. Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, Jarquez Hunter. Yeah, the goat Jarquez Hunter. Yeah, remember how hyped up Sean McVay was when he got him? Crazy. And he just doesn't even use him. But Kyron goes around 3, so how wide receiver heavy can he possibly be? That's true. Ideal for heavy receiver, yeah. But like, wide receiver to start. Yeah, I think he can be good for that for sure, like the double anchor. I think for sure, you go like with one of these guys like a Monroe, Lamb, Jefferson, and especially if you get Lamb Jefferson, that's crazy. But if you go with one of those guys, then pull up like a Nico, Drake London, AJ Brown, something like that. We'll go Tootin. I want some more Tootin. I have 10%. It's getting up there. We're full steam ahead on the Tootin hype train again, unfortunately. So, it might be my downfall, but I'm going to be in on Tootin again, I think. I do love my boy Bucky Irving a lot too, but I want to catch up on the Tootin. The hype seems like it's here. Maybe that's just me wanting the hype to be here because I want to be a Tootin slappy. But it does feel like the hype is kind of here. I do worry about him flipping some of these guys on the turn. I think some drafts you kind of see these guys mixed around with like Tootin, Swift, Henderson, Judkins. So I think just grabbing Tootin a little bit more back here feels fine. I do want more Bucky as well, but I think a lot of these running backs in the 5th round are good picks, like I've said before. I think just Trevion's the only one a little bit more questionable because, like, he doesn't really give you the floor or the safety of the role, but his upside's probably higher than anyone, especially if Ramondre went down. So, he kind of has his own case, but the other guys I think are all, like, really good roles, really good picks where they go as, like, low-end RB2s. All right, here – we would be looking at, yeah. I would have thought about Lamar. I think the running back was more important because I was just thinking, like, should I grab Lamar? But I don't think so because no good running backs ever come back here. It's always just like receivers, Tyler Warren, and then quarterbacks. So I think grabbing the second running back there made more sense than grabbing my Lamar. A little bit on the fence. I was thinking about Caleb there as well. I do like Warren probably more. Caleb falls in some lobbies as well, so maybe I get him back. We'll see, but I'm already a little bit overweight Caleb. Only having just Luther Burden as a stack. I don't need Caleb. I don't really mind taking a guy even like a Herbert or something on stack 2 in the 7th. And I do have some later outs to QBs as well. So I don't mind. I did kind of think about QB with the Caleb. I honestly didn't think about Lamar a ton when I picked Tootin, but I do think looking back, that was probably the right call. I think Lamar would have been fine as well. But I do think locking up my second running back before like round 7 feels good. Especially we'll kind of see who goes. But like if I don't get like a Pollard or Ramondre, something like that back, then I feel really bad at running back. I think if I don't lock up Tootin there. There's some fun those are some of the fun breakout wide receiver range though. Oh yeah, the 3-4 turn. Yeah, no, that's true. And then I take Kyron and then Burden or something. Yeah, no, I mean that can be I think that can be a good turn. Yeah. I mean I think that's good. It's a 14-teamer for me, so it works. Yeah, and in a 14-teamer too, right? That role and having just those projected touches matters even more because there's even less of it to go around. So I even agree more with that too in a 14-teamer. The safety of Kyron's role is even more valuable. Gunnar Ross, GM. Hey, what's up, Gunnar Ross? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. GM. Get money, as some would say. Good morning, as others. Burden, let me think about it, my boy. Yeah, Zero might not be the biggest Burden fan. For full PPR price, solid. Burden's definitely a risk. Yeah, I agree. Burden's a risk, but the upside's huge. So it makes sense to make the bet on him. There's some risk, but there's a lot of upside there too. I don't mind the Herbert, like I said. DK. I have a little bit less DK. I don't really mind him though. I wouldn't mind grabbing some more there. Fourth receiver, I think makes sense. I think it was either that or go with like an on-stack quarterback. And, that's not something I really need to reach on if I'm taking them on stack. So we'll push them around the turn. If they want to give me Herbert back, I'll probably just take them. if not, maybe I'll look at one of these running backs, start kind of looking down here. That's kind of my plan, I think, right now. But I think that's fine. No reason to rush to take Herbert if I don't have him stacked. Looks like a 0 RB start for me. Puka, London, Brees. I mean, you picked Brees in the 3rd round, bro. Come on. But Puka, I don't know when you put it. You might have put it right after Puka, London. Puka, London, Brees, Jalen Waddle, Trevion, Tony Pollard, Jalen Warren. I mean, yeah, pretty solid start, right? I like the running back room overall. I think with a guy like Trevion, it makes sense to get these guys behind him who, are getting touches and, will, kind of give you some floor. It's not like Trevion's going to give you no floor either. I sound like kind of a Trevion hater, I guess. But, I just think for where he goes, he gives you kind of low floor. So I do like grabbing the Pollard and Warren right behind him. And then when he does hit those 30 bombs, then, he's just kind of carrying your team that week. So, yeah, I like that overall. And then Brees up top, just also kind of a consistent guy. So, yeah, I like that. That's solid. Four spot is impossible to take RBs unless you get Chase Brown or Henry Fowler. Yeah, I agree. You kind of got to take him in the 3rd round, like you did. Yeah, Brees Hall. I agree because unless you want to pull up Jeremiah Love, that's your only option. Or you pull up Brees Hall, but why would you, right? He goes in the 3rd. So it's yeah, no, I agree. Unless you're a big Jeremiah Love guy. I'm not really, but some people who are Jeremiah Love guys, I could see it. So do I go Purdy or do I go Rico? That's kind of my debate because I have McCaffrey with Purdy, which I think is fine. That's a fine enough stack for sure. And then I could maybe get Ricky back. So I think I do that. I try to play for Ricky. If I don't get him back, I probably just switch to running back and go with the 3rd RB. But if I can get Ricky back, I might go him. I might still go 3rd RB, but we'll see what makes it back. I think locking up my first quarterback stacked up with McCaffrey makes sense. You know what I mean? McCaffrey, I he's a running back, but I mean, a running back with 102 catches last year, 900 receiving, 7 touchdowns. Obviously, like I said, I don't think he'll hit quite those numbers. I think maybe we'll see somewhere closer to the 2023, 2022 range. But even then, as a running back, I mean, that's good passing, and that stacks up to the quarterback. And Purdy runs, too, so it's not like you need him crazy overstacked. He's not just a statue in the pocket. Yeah, you and your too, Brian. Nah, just watching the background. All right, respect. I got JT and CD Lamb starting DK earlier today. That's pretty nice, damn. Yeah, I wonder. Wow, yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy to get JT, CD Lamb. That means Lamb probably had to fall to you probably got JT to fall to 10 or 11 or something. But yeah, no, that's a nice one. I don't know if I've seen that combo before. So that's a nice one. Underdog is so much sharper. Yeah, no, DK will give you some crazy fallers sometimes. I haven't played a ton on DK. I think I have 2 or 3 of their millionaires and then a couple entries into the smaller ones. I did some pre-draft as well. But I probably only have a dozen post-draft entries on DraftKings. But I don't know. Maybe I should draft on there a little bit more. It does seem like you can get crazy values. I love using Sleeper, watching Underdog dominated my ESPN leagues on Mayo. Yeah, I know. It is crazy. Even just seeing the ADPs and seeing people draft, I don't know, just there's certain guys in those redraft leagues that always get way mispriced. I remember last year, that's a nice price on Jackson Dart. He does have the same buy as Purdy, though, and I don't have him stacked. So I think we'll just go running back and just grab Dobbins here. Ricky went, so we couldn't get Ricky Pearsall with our Purdy. So we'll go Dobbins, get a RB3 that I feel good with. I think that feels pretty good to me. I might look at running back again, get my 4th with one of these 3 guys, Gainwell, Rashad White, or Aaron Jones. And as you can see, 0, 0 is a big Rashad White guy. I took that to heart. I got the Rashad White up, and we've still been getting the Aaron Jones up. We didn't even have to sacrifice the Aaron Jones. We're getting them both up. The Kenny Gainwell is kind of low, but, I mean, I'm a Bucky guy, so that's fine. But the Rashad White and Aaron Jones, we're getting quite a bit of both of them. I like both of them quite a bit where they go. I think they're the favorites to kind of be the lead backs on their team, especially the favorites to be the pass catching backs on their team too. So I think Rashad White and Aaron Jones both feel really good where they go. Look at splits from the Rams bye last year. Yeah, no, Corum took even more work after the bye. That's true. Oh yeah, and the ESPN leagues, last year, I think it was for me, Devontae Adams and George Pickens. Like, bro, every league. I had Devontae Adams, I swear, in every league I played in. Because he went in like the 7th round in all of my home leagues. And like, I don't know why. Like, he was like, and he was a guy too that in best ball, he moved up a ton at the end too. He was like pushing up. And then in my redraft leagues, he just went crazy late. And you know, when you watch like any best ball content, it's just like it's not even like people have to be saying like, oh, Devontae Adams is such a smash. But like you see people just pick him in the 3-4 turn or in the 3rd round. And then it's like, wait a minute. In my redraft league, he's going in the 6th or 7th round. Like, I know receivers fall a little sometimes, but damn, these are some great quarterback values. Holy shit. Wow. I really want Jackson Dart. It's the same bye week though as Purdy. But man, do I just take Jackson Dart? Yeah, fuck it. All right, yeah, Jackson Dart. Why not? I'll get a 3rd QB. I'll cover the bye week. It's good. You know, Aaron Jones would have been a great pick there, but like Jackson Dart that late is crazy. I mean, just his rushing upside, the spike weeks he put up in the limited sample he had, it's like I know he's more injury prone, and obviously the same bye week thing isn't great. I talked about that before I picked him, though I saw that coming. But it's like I just think that's a great value on Dart. I'd love to see that. Obviously, I didn't have him stacked. I'm not super worried about it though. But yeah, great price on Dart, and just like I don't know. I think he's just way undervalued at this point. The rushing upside's way too high. The offense looked great last year when they were all healthy. I mean, can they stay healthy? Will they be healthy? That's a big question. But either way, if he's healthy, just the rushing upside alone is like, I don't know, it's kind of worth it back here. Like we're getting close to Malik Willis territory. Like, you know, Malik Willis is going like 15 picks later than this. So it's like, I don't know. Jackson Dart at that price to me is just crazy. Happy to see that. You know, it wasn't the greatest team to put him on. It wasn't the greatest fit, but at that price, I just can't pass it up. And as a 2nd QB, you know, I still want a good one. So, you know, a lot of builds like if Purdy and Jackson Dart had different buys, I would really consider stopping at 2. Obviously, I'm going to try to grab a 3rd cheap one just to cover my bye week, but I would really consider stopping at 2 with this kind of quarterback strength if they had different buys. Yeah, no, that feels pretty good. I think here I wouldn't mind Isaiah Likely. I might be able to push him around the turn, especially with all these other tight ends here. So in that case, I would consider C-Rod, but I do have Tootin, so I don't think I will consider Chris Rodriguez. I wouldn't mind Tyrone Tracy. A receiver would also be good, you know, like a Jalen Coker. Then that opens me up for Bryce as well. Yeah, because yeah, and I was just thinking too. I was like, oh, I wonder where Stroud goes, and I just remembered Stroud would be a 3rd week 8 buy. So CJ Stroud's off the list, even though I have Nico, unfortunately. But that gives me another quarterback out to Bryce Young. I already have an out to Rodgers, so I have a couple laid outs now, you know, to cover my buy. I feel confident with Bryce Young or Aaron Rodgers covering 1 week. Hopefully they're healthy. That's all that really matters. But yeah, no, that feels pretty good overall. I think that feels good. And, you know, Coker there, I think he's a decent price. Should be the number 2 receiver on that team. You know, maybe not the best team, but it is a good play caller. Coker can definitely hit deep down the field. You know, my boy Stephon Diggs goes right before me, unfortunately. Hate to see it, but it's fine. And I like Coker where he goes, so that feels pretty good. It was like 97 versus 120 after. Yeah, no, they did get a lot closer. Corman's for sure a threat. He's better in best ball than redraft. Redraft, we have waiver wire. Hendy let me down in redraft last year. Yeah, no, that he's really a better in best ball guy. Like he's a big better in best ball guy. Now, obviously, I will say this: if Ramondre gets hurt, you know, week 3, and it's like for the year, Henderson's going to be the biggest smash on the board, right? That's the thing, but that's the thing with a lot of like, he's not a backup. He's split time. He's like the 1B, but like, you know, that's the thing with a lot of guys, but Hendo does have an upside that very, very few players have, even if the starter does go down. So I don't know. I can get why you would make the bet even in redraft, but I do think in redraft he feels a lot worse to me. You know, you just can't count on him week in, week out in redraft. And I think that just makes the bet feel so much worse. I mean, I do like the C-Rod price. I would probably, like, normally I'd pick him, but I don't think with Tootin, I don't think I really want to handcuff it. So we'll go likely. We'll get a stacked up tight end. Yeah, I'm a little bit lower on likely. I have like 5%. So not crazy out. I do think he's in a position to have a really nice role there. I question his talent maybe a little bit more than some of the likely truthers, but I do think he's set up in a really good role. They paid him, they brought him in for a reason. He's playing for the same coach he's played with for years. It's like they clearly brought him in for a reason to have a big role. I think it's an offense that targets tight ends a lot. I already had Dart, so that gets me a stat going. So I think that feels good. And I can definitely stop at 2 tight ends with Warren and Likely. So that feels pretty good overall. Vrabel hates the dude. Oh yeah, Hendy, yeah. Yeah, we'll see Henderson. He's always when Vrabel's trying to go out and cheat on his wife, then Henderson's posting like God will find the wicked. He's posting Bible quotes and stuff. And Vrabel doesn't like that shit. He's trying to go out and do his dirt. He doesn't need his player talking trash about it. So yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. That could be it, but I do think there is a chance Henderson takes on more work this year, just being a second-year player, more trusted. I just do worry. Like Ramondre looked pretty good. It's just it makes it hard to buy in on Henderson where he goes when you can get guys like I don't know, like even like a Swift to me, a Quinshawn to me. They feel like so much safer with their roles now. Swift, he does have Mon guy there, but I don't know. I just feel a lot more comfortable with those guys, and I think they give you a lot safer floor. But Hendo's the ultimate upside bomb, right? And if Ramondre goes down, then he's going to be an absolute steal compared to those guys. If Ramondre goes down, Henderson's a borderline like first rounder. So I don't know. I can see the case, but he is a little bit tougher click than those other guys for me. All right. No matter how many times Stevenson fumbles, LOL. Yeah, no, that's true. He would not bench Stevenson even after the fumbles. I was a little bit surprised by that because in years prior, he seemed a lot more open to benching him. And then last year, he seemed like not as quick to pull the trigger. Like, remember, like 2 or 3 years ago, he benched him for Antonio Gibson that one game. I think Ramondre still like played in that game, but shit. What do I want to do? Do I want Tajay? I'm kind of looking at these quarterbacks, but I think I'm cool with any of the 3. So I think I'll just push it. If they want to give me dimes here, I'll take them. If not, maybe I take Bryce. All right. So dimes goes, sad day for me, but it's fine. I had Tyler Warren, so I was thinking about him there. I think I really wanted the running back, though. I really wanted a 4th. So I think that feels fine. I think I feel similar with these quarterbacks. As you can see, I have a lot of them. I do a lot of 3 QB builds, and just a lot of times that 3rd QB will come out of this tier with like the Daniel Jones, the Bryce Youngs, the Aaron Rodgers. Don't have as much Mendoza, like I said, but have a little bit of the later guys as well, but mostly Rodgers, Bryce Young. I have a lot of Cam Ward too. Those are the guys I kind of focus in on in my later rounds. But all right. So I wouldn't mind Boston or Bryce Young. Those would probably be my ideal picks, though. Toot. Hell yeah. It's tooting time. Unfortunately, for sure. Yeah, unfortunately, back in on Tootin. Yes, it is unfortunate. What do we think about Tootin as a prospect? Is it just hype? I think as a prospect, he showed some really interesting stuff. I don't think it's just speed. I do think the speed is obviously his biggest factor. I think the biggest question mark is probably like his vision overall. It seems like it was the overall biggest question mark. Yeah, I do think he was pretty successful though on short yardage and was a pretty like decently high success rate runner last year. So that maybe helped that narrative a little. He did have, some stuff. His stuff rate wasn't the best, basically, is what I'm saying. But like he was a pretty decent success rate runner. So the vision thing, I think maybe he's improved a little bit there. We'll go Bryce Young with the Coker. We'll just lock that up. If I push it and then it's only Rodgers, then I'm like having to hope Rodgers comes back. So we'll just lock up that 3rd QB, cover that bye. I feel good there. But with Tootin, I do think some stuff was interesting. Like he did have decent production. He was really good at forcing missed tackles. And I think a big debate point with that is like, can you manipulate the defenders a lot more with just pure speed in college than you can in the NFL? The answer is probably yes, but it's like, I think just him being a really efficient, like at forcing guys to miss, is a really strong skill set, like for NFL running backs. I don't know, like it's a really strong skill set coming out of college that I think matters. And I think shows that he has skills. If he does have the ball in space, he can make guys miss. He can actually break it, actually use that speed. He's not just a guy that, as soon as the guy gets in front of him, he's done. I think he can use that speed and he can break tackles and like make big plays out of it. I think he was used a lot as the short yard back last year, and I think that actually kind of worked out. We saw him be good on the goal line, saw him be good in short yardage. So I think there's good stuff with Tootin. I think as a receiver, even he's we'll go B-Rob here, 5th RB. That feels good. I think as a receiver, even he's okay. He's nothing special. I do think LaQuint Allen is a better pass blocker. I don't think LaQuint Allen's anything special as a receiver either. A lot of people like to say that LaQuint Allen's this like, oh yeah, LaQuint Allen's like locking up every single third down snap or some shit. Like some people say, they don't say that, but they say, that LaQuint Allen's going to take away so much third down work and all that. And it's like, well, passes still happen to the running back on first and second. And LaQuint Allen, you look at him as a receiver, like he had 1 yard per route run. He was like really low in that. Like he was not a very efficient receiver. He's a good pass blocker, but that'll get him on the field some, but I don't really know if he's going to take away a ton of receiving work or like as much as people think. And I don't think C-Rod's going to take away hardly any. He's basically 0 in the receiving game. I think Tootin didn't get a chance to show a ton last year. I think he's not going to be some crazy receiver, but I think he can catch. And I don't know. I think he has the ability to consolidate a lot of the work. I think he can break big runs. I think it's an offense where the biggest thing with the offense is I want to bet on the guy who is going to get touches in that offense. I think Liam Cohen just has a super efficient offense. But yeah, see, horrible vision, horrible timing. I do think the vision was a huge knock on him coming out of college. That was one of the biggest knocks a lot of people said. And I do think last year you can definitely find examples of that as well. I don't think he like totally beat that narrative by any means. I do think having some of the like good success rates in short yardage does help a little bit with that narrative. I think showing he can, be a good rusher in short yardage at the NFL level means something. He wasn't the best though by any means, but he was like, okay. He was, respectable at it. Like he was like, depending on which side was C-Rod, they were actually very similar in short yardage. Him and Chris Rodriguez, who was kind of brought in as like, C-Rod's seen almost more as like a short yard specialist, I would say. And he can do more than that, but it's like, I think that's kind of his strongest suit. And I think Tootin actually matches up very similar to him in that department. And I don't know. I think that shows that if Tootin can get the short yardage stuff like that, then, that would be kind of almost what you'd expect him to struggle with the most. I think if he can succeed there, then there's like definitely room to grow. Yeah, but I will say the vision, there's definitely some plays you watch Tootin from last year. Like it is on display. Like if he had better vision, he could find a lane where he can really utilize that speed, and that doesn't happen all the time. So I don't totally disagree there. Hell yeah, just got off work. What's up, Best Ball and Call? Thanks for stopping by, bro. That is unfortunate to hear. I got lucky today, had the day before the 4th off, so lucked out today. Got a day off, but that's unfortunate. Hey, at least you're out now, though. At least you're out now, right? And hey, good news if you didn't see, Underdog dropped us a whole bunch of cheap contests. So if you're trying to rip any of them $4, $5 drafts, then the lobby is full. We got the Superflex German Shepherd. We're in a Chihuahua right now. I believe this is a $4 entry contest. And then we got the Frenchie Marathon. So all different variety, all contests. You can just sling a bunch of entries in. You absolutely love to see it. What's up, Kriya? Thanks for stopping by, bro. What's the hesitance on Mendoza? Games played or LV bad team? I think for me, it's number of games played. And also, I guess I question, like, what is Mendoza's – not what is his upside, because he goes so cheap, but, like I don't think Mendoza will run a ton. I think he will have a decent scramble rate because most rookies do just by being young athletic guys. Do we take – I could take a shot on Tank Dell. Why not? Or Mooney. Missed out on Mooney. That's fine. I just needed a receiver there. It didn't really matter which one I picked. Brandon Ayuk claims to stack with Brock Purdy, but I know he doesn't. I think I just need one more receiver, and we'll call this build good. But yeah, any receiver there was fine, I guess. Oh yeah, but the Mendoza thing, I think games played worries me a little. And then I worry, I guess not worry, but like to me, I worry a little bit about what Mendoza's upside will be because I think it'll be a pretty run heavy offense. And I don't think he'll run a ton. I think, like I said, he will scramble some. And I think like a guy like Rodgers, a guy like Bryce Young, a guy like Cam Ward, like a lot, I'm getting a lot more in that tier as my QB3 and not really weighting as much to Mendoza. I'm mostly just picking him with Bowers when I have him. I guess it's just a little bit harder for me to see the value of him over those guys or like right around those guys. When I know that he's most likely not starting week 1 and those other guys are most likely starting all 17 if healthy. And I don't know if Mendoza really is going to have the upside as like kind of a little bit more of a pocket passer type. With, not the strongest supporting cast. I mean, Bowers and Genty's great, but Genty will also take a lot of that just rushing on the goal line, right? I mean, he can catch too, so he might get some receiving work, like some receiving touchdowns from Mendoza, but I guess it's just the upside seems a little bit risky, not risky, but like a little bit questionable, like compared to the other guys. And then I don't think he's starting all 17, where I think the other guys around him are. I do like their playoff schedule though. And as a young guy, he could have some more scrambling. Mendoza could easily get like a decent rushing touchdown, have a good passing day, and be a top QB on the week. And they do have a nice schedule. So I'd be open to getting a little bit more. I just tend to lean more with the guys, especially as my third QB, as a guy who will cover if any like injuries happen, any bye weeks happen. That is, I think I guess that's the biggest part of it is like, I could take Brandon Ayuk because it is the last round. He's been posting every day on social media about how he's going to be a Commander any second now. Let's just grab a stack Darnell Mooney instead. That feels better. Yeah, I guess, to finish that point on Mendoza though, I think a big thing with the Mendoza thing is I view my third quarterback a lot as that bye week injury filler. And Mendoza is kind of like the third quarterback as big upside, right? And I don't mind that call. I just don't know if it'll be a great system for him to hit that big upside. Like we look at a guy like Sam Darnold last year, right? In this Kubiak offense. And he was okay, but he threw for 25 touchdowns, 14 picks, 4K yards. It's like, I don't know, but it's not like the Kevin O'Connell offense the year before, right? Where he's throwing almost 70 more pass attempts, 300 more yards, 10 more touchdowns. I think just with it being a little bit run heavier offense and just kind of all those kind of points, maybe him not playing all 17 games just because he doesn't start early. I think that is what kind of leans me away from Mendoza compared to like the Rodgers, Young, Danny Dimes, Cam Wards. And I know some of those guys are getting a little bit more expensive than him, so that's not quite the same tier. And Mendoza does fall sometimes. This draft he goes a little earlier, but sometimes he goes later than all those guys. So, but I don't know. That's just why I'm a little bit lower on him overall. All right, so we'll try to catch up a little bit. Explosive and strong athlete, Tootin, yeah. No, that's pretty fair. Receiving profile in question. I agree. It's not great, but I think it's like he showed like at least some upside in the receiving game. He's definitely not like a C-Rod type or something. I think Tootin showed he can at least be like a somewhat competent receiver. Maybe there's room to grow there as well, but I think at least we saw something. But yeah, not a ton. There's definitely questions, like for sure. RB completely wiped out. LOL. Yeah, no, they wiped it out. I remember having Dobbins last year as my RB2 and everyone was praying for an injury because they had Harvey LMAO. Yeah, no. And I mean, that's the thing right now too. It's like the Harvey Dobbins debate. Like I'm kind of more of a Dobbins guy, but yeah, it's just that thing of he's never made it through a season, right? But if he does, when he's healthy, he's going to lead that team in carries and probably fantasy points and expected fantasy points. And he is an explosive rusher. He's a better goal line rusher. It's like Dobbins probably going to dominate the carries on that team, or at least like have the lion's share. But yeah, it's just he's never made it through a season. So how do you play that guy, right? It's like I'm more of a Dobbins believer. This could be the year he finally stays healthy. any of them could. But yeah, no, he's a tough one. Preying on his downfall. Yeah, no, the Harvey Bulls. Unfortunate chaperones for Hendo. Oh yeah, like Dobbins. Yeah, looks like Trey Lance was a bust. LOL. I agree. I actually thought he was going to be something. Yeah, no, a lot of people did. I was a little bit more mixed. I was kind of a Trey Lance hater right when he came out. But being on the Niners, it definitely makes you want to at least cover your bases a little, get some Trey Lance. You're like, if anyone can make him work, it's probably Kyle Shanahan. But even he couldn't get it done. JT11, CD14, that's nice. So I went like AGB Hampton, I forget. AGB's getting pulled up to the 1-2 turn a lot, I feel like. Oh shit, Rashad White is up. Crazy dart price. Yeah, no, that was a great price. Nagy's going to run him off tackle 12 times for a game. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Dart and Scat, must watch football. Yeah, no, I mean, they're I don't know if you guys saw. Did you guys see their Gene ad? That was pretty great. I'll see if I can find it quick. But they did a nice ad together today. Oh yeah, for Crocs, that's what it was. Share this tab. But yeah, I mean, how much, how can you not pick these guys after they show all this aura? How could you not pick them in their new Crocs ad? Look at Cam Scatto just holding up Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart's a big guy. He has big, strong tree trunk legs, and Cam Scatto's just holding him up like nothing. He's ready to play football. All right, we'll go back over here. But no, that was a fire ad. I enjoyed it. Let me know when Bryce Young grows 8 inches, my boy. Hey, I will. I'll be right on it. But hey, at least his receivers, Dave Canales and the GM over there, they were smart. They got him a bunch of like 6'4" receivers and stuff. So at least they did it right in that sense. They got him big receivers for the short quarterback. He can just see the very tip of their helmet when they're downfield. So it works out. Redraft, you just click the highest upside number round, basically. Yeah, basically. I mean, they're, yeah. I mean, in the most basic format, that's really what all best ball is. Or I guess redraft, yeah, any fantasy football really. But yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of true, yeah. Because you can cut players and add players. Yeah, I mean, like team construction matters at some point, but with trades, with cuts, it gives you a lot more flexibility in that sense. You can kind of just pick the best player or make trades, right? LeQuint yards per hour run was very low because they ran a lot of 3 or 4 wide receiver sets. Yeah, but I mean, like Tootin's was better, but he had like a lower. He didn't have very much usage, but like Tootin's was better than LeQuint's. But I mean, yeah, that's true. They'll probably always have lower yards per outrun to running backs in general with all that receiving talent. LeQuint had 11 total targets. People can play his pass on roll, his pass catching. He's just there for pass pro. Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with that. Like in any of like the analytics stuff and all that, it's like he's not really like a super talented pass catcher. He didn't like, yeah, I don't know. It's more like a lot of it's the pass pro. I agree. The Charlie Kolar of RBs, hell yeah. Mendoza reminds me of a young Burrow. Yeah, no, I mean, kind of, yeah. I've felt like that too watching him. I just don't know if I don't know if the scheme and the talent will really be there for him to like hit really big as a rookie, but it definitely could. And I mean, with, Genty and Bowers, that can be enough to get it going. If the receivers are even decent, maybe they still bring someone in. So I don't mind that call. And I do kind of feel like I felt that same thing, like watching some of those games. Like, I don't know, just like the way he slings it, like it kind of does feel like that, right? Like there's guys you watch and it's like in college, they just throw it like an NFL quarterback. And there's guys that don't, like JJ McCarthy. That guy never, like, I don't know. He has some passes that look pretty sick, but like you watch that dude for the most part, his passes don't got zip. They look like wobblers. It's like that ain't an NFL quarterback. Now, sometimes it leads you wrong the other way. Like Michael Penix, that guy can throw like the prettiest like deep ball you ever seen, but like the consistency, is a little more questionable. But yeah, like Mendoza seems to kind of have it, right? Where he can. Maybe he doesn't have the most insane arm talent, but he can hit pretty much all the throws. And then he does have that good timing, that really smart, like timing, calculated stuff. So I do agree with you there. I don't know. I think Mendoza has a lot of talent. I just don't know if it'll be there enough to like break out this year, but maybe if he gets on the field pretty early, can really settle in. I might be a little bit too low on Mendoza. I do like him. It's because of the other guys he goes around. I think, like I was saying, how I think about my third QB. But maybe I should pick him a little bit more, get some more of that upside. And, like, I do like him a little bit more if I wait on QB, like if I do have a first QB later. then that makes me like Mendoza a little bit more because then I am shooting a little bit more for that upside rather than like on this build. It's like I don't like upside's always nice, but like Brock Purdy and Jackson Dart, like they can carry me. I just want that third QB. I need that third QB to start week 8. He has to. So like in this build, it couldn't be Mendoza, but like some other builds, where especially where I start a little later, maybe I could consider him a little bit more. You guys might have convinced me a little bit. Mendoza's comp for me was 25 Daniel Jones. Really like his price and big believer in Kubiak. I agree with that too. I agree with I'm a big believer in Kubiak as well. He was way more poised than Daniel Jones. Yeah, I think I pretty much agree. I think Daniel Jones, the thing with him is like I think Daniel Jones is protected a lot by his offense, and I think Mendoza will be as well. Kubiak's a great offensive coordinator, but like Steichen probably protects his quarterback like more than almost any other coach. At least I think so. Just with like they're always one of the highest like first read target rate teams out of any team in the league. I don't know. They just do a lot more like the RPO, the short passing stuff like that than like a lot of other teams. So I feel like Steichen has a big part of that. But, Kubiak's a great OC too and should be a good head coach. So I can kind of see the comp in that sense. Well, Bryce Young isn't starting all 17 either, my boy, benched eventually. And I don't quite think so. I think he'll make it. But hey, to each their own. He was poised at UI because his OL was awesome. He remarkably similar to Dimes from this year. Excellent RPO merchant with decent arm strength and surprisingly tough runner. Yeah, I can kind of see it. I guess that there will be. Well, I guess Dimes this year was really good. So yeah, I actually don't mind the comp. Dimes was really good. He really outperformed kind of what he used to be or what he was on the Giants. So that's fair. I'll give that one to you, Kriya. The casuals have arrived. Yeah, no, I mean, maybe it's the draft. Maybe it's the draft. Maybe it was a take. Maybe it was one of my takes. I don't even know. But the casuals have arrived. It is that time of year. I know Kriyath ain't no casual, but Zero, he ain't no casual either. But the casuals have arrived. It is officially July. So in July 4th weekend, the casuals might be just hopping into their fantasy football for the first time. We might get some values this weekend. Tyler Shuck rookie helped Sherman win BBM. That's a good point. Hey, maybe I do need more Mendoza for that reason alone. No, I mean it is true. It is true. Yeah, that is true. Mendoza can cover you down weeks. He'll be starting soon. Yeah, see, that's just the tougher part for me. I guess it depends when you think he starts. It's like I want to, on one hand, think that he'll start right away because he has such a high pick. And, and he should be good. And he should be pretty pro ready. It's not like he's a guy like Dante Moore was or something where like he needs work, or like Ty Simpson where you're like, no fucking way that guy's starting week 1. He went to the Rams, so there wasn't a chance anyways. But like if he would have went to a team where he could, it's like, oh, no way Ty Simpson should start week 1. But like Mendoza, he's poised. He could definitely do it. So I can I don't know. I could see picking more Mendoza. I just worry like, man, like I don't know. Tom Brady has said one of the worst things you can do to a young quarterback is throw him in the game and not have him be fully prepared. It's disgusting what these teams are doing to these young quarterbacks. That's what Tom Brady said. He's a 5% owner of the Raiders. Mark Davis listens to him. He helps hire all the people there. Does he just put Mendoza in? Do they just put Mendoza in? Does Clint Kubiak say, nah, this Kirk Cousins guy ain't got it? He can't run no play action. He can't even move. We need to put in Mendoza. It could go either. I don't know. It just worries me that they might really just like, even if they're losing, just say fuck it. Like none of their guys are on the hot seat at all. Just say like, yeah, we'll just wait. Like it's good. Like I guess that's what worries me so much with the Raiders. With Mendoza. Is like, do they feel any pressure if they're losing with Kirk, or do they just keep rolling with them and say like it's chill. They're not trying to win anything. I don't know. And maybe it depends like how does that new look defense look too, right? How does the rest of the team look? If they look like they can compete and Kirk's just holding them back, then maybe Mendoza gets out there right away. But I don't know. I worry maybe a little bit more than kind of the average consensus of like Mendoza's basically starting by like, I think the average consensus is like probably like what, like week 4 or 5. like week 4 or 5, Kirk maybe gets like a month in there, and then he probably has a meltdown or something. And they put in Mendoza, the fans are chanting. So it is a little tough because I think the general idea is kind of like week 4 or 5, Mendoza's probably starting. But I think just with some of the ownership and leadership, it worries me just a little bit. And I think just their new coach and stuff will not have any worries, anything on the hot seat. I don't know. It just makes me worry a little bit on them. Getting the 101 with Kubiak at 170 is such value ammo. I click him a good clip for a QB3. That's fair too. And you can think your QB3 is just upside too. So I don't mind it. And he could start pretty early. I click him as QB1 sometimes. Okay, now that I have a little bit more questionable. With Rodgers or Geno 2-ass build, I mean, it could work, but man, that's a little bit, that's pushing it. It could work though. Yeah, bro, Dobbins off list Frank gonna be good. Hell yeah, trust me, bro. Draft RJ. Brother, RJ Harvey can't run worth a shit though. He's such a boom bust runner, and he just, I don't know, he gets stuffed. He's not consistent. Dobbins mogs him and carries. Is Jonah Coleman gonna take work if Dobbins goes down again? It's like I don't know. And then Dobbins too. It's like bro, like Dobbins, he might get hurt every year, but he's never let an injury slow him down. He comes off torn ACL, Achilles. He don't care. He's just efficient right away. He does it every time. But no, I mean, I don't know. RJ has some upside too. I don't mind RJ. I'm actually thinking about I might do I've been thinking about doing some like pre-recorded videos and stuff too to like drop them in the middle of the week. I was thinking about doing like, running backfields against each other. Like the ones that are close, that go close, like, I guess it would be like Steelers, Broncos, Commanders, Vikings. But like those ones and stuff, I was kind of thinking about doing some videos like that, just kind of deep diving them. But like, I don't know. I think if I do, that might be one I want to look at because that's one I feel like is kind of a big debate, especially now with their prices getting closer. Brave, I like Perry Mendoza post too. At times I go Allen Lamar. See, I don't mind that. Now that build I kind of like. I kind of like that. You get a super elite, and then you're just like, boom, give me some guys who hopefully will be on the field for the bye weeks. But like, especially if you get Lamar week 13 bye, you're probably good. But I actually like that build overall, where like you have an elite, you have a guy covering it, and then you just spend late capital on the other two. Just like give me some floor for the buys, cover stuff like that, and maybe some upside. So I like that play. They got Bryce chucking moon balls. Yeah, they do got Bryce chucking moon balls. And hey, it works out. He's chucking them with Jalen Coker, and we got them both. Being brave is when you are afraid and still do it. I feel zero fear with Kubiak. Been riding with him for years now. All right, that's fair enough. And hey, I mean, I don't mind my, Raiders. Like, we got Genty. We got a big bag of Genty. A little underweight on Bowers. Quite a bit under on Naylor, but I do like Tucker. And then we got some Big Mike. We got some Fernando. We got a little bit of Jack Besh even. So, I don't mind the Raiders, but maybe I could up my Bowers and Fernando a little. Maybe I get some more Bowers-Fernando stacks going. I definitely don't mind doing that whenever I can. So, maybe I'll get that popping a little bit more. The elite tight ends, I've been a little bit more anti them this year, but I wouldn't mind getting it popping a little bit with them. That ad is hilarious. Oh, yeah, no, that was great. The Crocs ad with Scatabo and Dart. Yeah, that was hella funny. Oh, what's up, Kelly? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Mendoza feels like Kirk to me. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see that too. I think maybe a little bit more athletic upside than Kirk had, but I can see the comparison. That doesn't feel too crazy to me. Kirk had some really nice years on the Vikings. People like to forget Kirk was actually pretty good on the Vikings. They didn't have the best record some of those years, but their defense was pretty bad. So, I don't know. Yeah, Kirk had some pretty good years. 2.86 yards per out run, brother. Horrible. I mean, that's true. It wasn't very good. None of them were good, though. None of them were good. So, I mean, that's one thing. Like, when none of their per route metrics are good, then, like, does it really matter? No, but it's not great. It's not great. I will give you that. But it's not like any of the other guys were great either. So, I don't know. It's just more of the sense, I guess, that, like, no one's going to so clearly, like, take him off the field and take stuff away. Just because, see, and I knew you were lying too. He had a 1.07 yards per out run. So, see, we got we got the fact check going. You're trying to hate on my boy Bayshal Tootin, 1.07. What did our boy LaQuinta Allen, now that we're already on player profiler, what did our boy LaQuinta Allen, pass catch extraordinaire, 0.39 yards per out run, 0.39 yards per out run for our boy LaQuinta. And then how about our boy C-Rod, Chris Rodriguez? What was he getting yards per out run wise? What was our boy C-Rod getting? Also 0.36. So him and LaQuinta are pretty similar. Bayshal Tootin is about 3 times the receiver that they are. So see, we cleared it up. Bayshal Tootin, comparatively to the other players on his team, a very good receiver. Comparatively to the average NFL running back, not a great receiver. But that's kind of what I mean. It's not like anyone there is special, and Tootin showed a little bit. It was not 0.86 or 0.86. It was a little bit better, but it wasn't great. I will give you that. But none of them are. So, I think that kind of just gives him another chance where maybe he does get on the field that way. Yeah, Mendoza slings it. He moves around the pocket like Burrow too. Yeah, no, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see the similarities. Mendoza's a dog, though. I remember his TD run in the championship had for. Yeah, no, that was sick. That was sick. That was a moment that really proved he had that dog. I think Mendoza's a guy. He's all button up like goody two shoe guy, but like you can tell he has that dog just in general. But that moment, that was tough. That was tough when he did that. Bowers is Jamar Chase. Tucker's is T. Higgins. Trey Tucker's is T. Higgins. Hey, you're the number one Trey Tucker supporter, so I don't hate the call, but might be getting a little bit hyperbolic on old Trey Tucker. Ready to smash, trade Olave to the Raiders. That'd be sick if Olave went to the Raiders. Oh my God. If Olave went to the Raiders, I'd be in piss for not taking Mendoza. That would be that would be sick though. Olave in that offense too. I guess he already was in that offense and he was kind of cooking. Shaheed was cooking even more though. But Olave in that Kubiak offense with like decent QB play, that would be sick. Because that first year when Kubiak was on the Saints, it's like everyone got hurt so early. We got to see them go absolutely insane for 2 games, and then it's like everyone got hurt. Olave's getting contract though, I think so too. They're also identical height, weight. Do you remember we had to wait until right before the season to find out JD5 and Bo were the starting QBs? That's true. Yeah. No, it is true because a lot of coaches like to say that. That's true. I should pick a little bit more Mendoza. You guys are kind of convincing me because I don't hate Mendoza. Like the part about like the Raiders being bad or him being bad, I don't think that's true. I just worry about the games, but I should pick a little bit more. All right. So all right, we're still a little bit behind the comments. I think we're gonna rip one more draft. Do you guys have a preference? I can do a quick poll in the YouTube chat. I'll do that really quick. So if you guys have a preference on what we're drafting, go ahead and vote. We'll hop in like 2-3 minutes, and I'll count it down and stuff. But if you guys have a preference, quick. Okay, so what we drafting? So we'll put in the marathon. We'll put in the Chihuahua. How do you do Chihuahua? Yeah. Okay. The Chihuahua. And then we'll put in what's the other one? Oh, the Superflex. Let's put in Superflex. Okay. I guess we could also, if we want to do BBM, and we won't do BBM. We'll just do the other 3. That's fine. Because we can do BBM whenever. These ones just drop. So we'll do one of these. Go ahead, vote if you have an opinion. If not, I'm probably gonna put my finger on the scale and do Superflex because that's the one we haven't ripped yet. So I'll probably do that. But for right now, the chat quick, and then I'll go over mine and Zero's teams. And then we'll hop into whatever we're doing next. Even May got in the game when it was thought to be a redshirt year due to O-line lack of weapons. Yeah, but like Jacoby, see, I guess the thing to me though is I think a lot of those quarterbacks are worse than Cousins is now. Because I think Cousins could be decent. Well, I guess not with all the play action though. It's like, are they still going to be really play action heavy? Because Kirk's going to have a hard time with that. So, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know. You guys might be convincing me a little bit on this Mendoza thing because it's like I think Kirk is still a decent enough passer to like get by and start for a while. But at the same time, I don't really know since he's not mobile at all, especially anymore. Like he was never crazy mobile, but now he's really not mobile. I wonder if maybe that does get him off the field even quicker, like within the first 2-3 weeks, if not even, yeah, maybe week one. But I think they'll start Kirk week one. I think they'll have enough, gumption to stick with Kirk to week one. I think it'll be like a Drake May thing, maybe. So that's not a bad point. How can you not play Mendoza when he has 2 months to prepare? Bro, Tom Brady wants him to have 2 years to prepare, brother. My Raiders are finally building the team in a deliberate way, so I think your assessment is fair. There's no rush for GM head coach to rush rookie. Yeah, no, and I do stand by that thought, but like I will kind of give it to you guys, like especially Mendoza, because he's not really a project, right? He has a ton of starts in college, like we've seen a lot from him. Like he's a pretty seasoned player. He had good coaching. It's like for a guy coming out as a rookie, he's not like not a project by any means. So I don't know. You guys are convincing me a little bit. You guys are convincing me a little bit. I will say that. It's contract year for Tucker. If Kirk can't feed him and Bowers, Mendoza will play. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. If Kirk's playing really bad right away, then they'll pull him pretty quick. I think they need to figure out what they have. If Trey Tucker out, Raiders are back to the drawing board because Betch is a complete bust. Yeah, I mean, I will say Besh and Thornton didn't get a ton of opportunity last year with Pete Carroll coming in, and not really wanting to use a lot of the rookies. Even brings in Dustball Tyler Lockett partway through the year instead of playing the young guys on a losing team, which is odd. But I think maybe there's some potential for some of the guys just because they, not a great system last year, and he wouldn't really play the young guys at all. They got a little bit of playing time, but not much. But yeah, I mean, Besh isn't the greatest prospect. Unless tank for Jeremiah. Man, that'd be sick. They should. Tank for Jeremiah Smith. I mean, that'd be sick. Imagine him on that team. Him and Bowers. That'd be crazy. We should trade a first for Olave or Pickens if Mendoza looks legit. That'd be sick too. Olave or Pickens. Pickens worries me a little bit, especially if the Raiders are having a little bit more of a down year. But they get Pickens. They have this coaching. They have a lot of these new guys. I mean, they might not have so many down years anymore. So I mean, hey, I'm in the Bay. Well, I guess in the Bay, the Raiders aren't here anymore, but I am a Raiders fan, so I do hope they do well. I'm a Lions fan first and foremost. Don't let me get it twisted, but I do like the Raiders. A lot of my all my like kind of friends and family out here are pretty much all Raiders fans. Like hardly any Niners fans. Like I know a couple, but mostly Raiders fans. You can get better. You can get a better receiver, I think. Olave, I doubt will get traded because both sides love each other. Yeah, I mean, maybe pretty underrated. Cook with the commies was good, yeah. And a couple of those years on the Vikings were pretty good. Bro. We going back to like 2010. Yeah, that was a while ago. Though. You like that days were quite a while ago, huh? LOL. I checked on PFF Premium, bro. What the hell? Player profiler clearly has a Tootin bias. That's scary. Big stats are even trying to push Tootin up. That's scary. It's probably had the playoff games. He probably just didn't do shit to play. Maybe what it is. I'm guessing that was the difference because I think player profiler is only regular season. But I don't know. That was probably the difference. So I was just kind of fucking around with that being different. I don't think Tootin's a special receiver, but I don't think the other guys are either. So that was the main point. Kubiak had a chance to get Shaheed, and they chose Trey Tucker plus Naylor, small deal. That's true. Shaheed did get paid. But I guess when you look at him versus Naylor, it's not that crazy of a difference. Big dog. Hell yeah. Crazy Hartman didn't even review his team yet. That's a good point. All right. We're right there on the comments. So let's take a break from him for a second. And then I'll look at my team, Zero's team. I don't think anyone else was in here. If you were, let me know. I'll look at your team too. But I'll look at my team, Zero's team, and then whatever wins that little poll I just put, we'll do that. So hopefully that works out good. All right. So I have a 3-5-8-2 Brock Purdy, Jackson Dart, Bryce Young. Let me close that. Brock Purdy, Jackson Dart, Bryce Young, Christian McCaffrey, Bashal Tootin, J.K. Dobbins, Tyjae Spears, Brian Robinson, Nico, Zay Flowers, Luther Burden, DK Metcalf, Jalen Coker, Antonio Williams, Tank Dell, Darnell Mooney, Tyler Warren, Isaiah Likely. I think my tight end room's fine with those two. You could argue I'd want a third, but I think those two are fine. Spend a lot on Warren, likely pretty good capital, and should be pretty high target earner in that offense. Not a lot of talent around him, especially if Neighbors is hurt. Quarterback felt like was really strong. Just got Young to mainly cover that bye week, but feel like that's strong. Really strong top two. Great price on Dart. Running back it's okay. Two guys I feel good with. Tootin obviously carries a lot more question marks, but I think has really high upside in the offense. Could take over as the RB1, obviously, being drafted like it. But just a really high upside offense, good coaching, stuff like that. And I just think him and McCaffrey, they could carry my RB1 and 2 spot. I think Dobbins gives me some really safe floor while he's healthy. Can help cover bye weeks, but can also maybe hit my flex some weeks. So I think my top 3, I feel pretty good with having them. Tyjae and Brian Robinson, it's maybe a little bit thinner back here, but having CMC is kind of my hero. If he's healthy all year, I think that makes the running back room pretty viable. Kind of betting on CMC as that hero RB. And then receiver, I think, was actually pretty solid. Fourth receiver DK is pretty good. Burden, not a guy to take a ton, but feels okay. Zay and Nico, I think, are really solid where they go. So I think that's pretty good. Fifth with a stacked up Coker feels fine. Kind of just took some darts later. But yeah, I think receiver feels fine. I think overall, this is a pretty solid team. Maybe would have liked a little bit more correlation. The dart thing was mainly just because he fell, but we actually got them stacked up decent. And then other than that, just a little bit skinnier stack. So a little bit more correlation might have been nice, but I think I feel pretty happy with the team overall. And then let's look at 0. He did a 2.682. So Mahomes, Knicks, that's a good quarterback room. I think that's fine to stop at 2. Brees Hall, Trevion, Tony Pollard, Jalen Warren, Jordan Mason, Chris Rodriguez. Pretty strong running back room, right? You get Brees up top, just kind of consistent, high volume guy. But then Trevion, maybe he is a little bit more questionable. The highs and the lows, not to say floor, but big spikes. So then you go and you get Pollard, you get Warren, both very consistent guys who will be getting touches. Pollard probably leading the team in carries. So I like that. I like layering that up, getting Pollard and Warren behind Trevion. That way you have that floor and you can take advantage of those spikes. And then Mason Rodriguez is 5 and 6. I think is really strong too. So I like that quite a bit. Got a nice fall around Rodriguez too. Yeah, really strong running back room. Like that a lot. And then Puka, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Denzel Boston, A.D. Mitchell, Calvin Ridley, Pat Bryant, Jalen Noel. And so, strong top 3 with the Puka, London, Waddle. I think maybe waited a little bit too long. Would have liked a better 4th than that. But having the really strong running back room, strong quarterbacks, Kelsey Chig is fine. So, but having the really strong running backs, I think took away some from the receiver room. I maybe would have spent one of those picks on a receiver instead near the end of the running back room. But I think overall it's okay. You're just really relying on these top 3 guys, or, you need one of these later guys, Boston, AD, to kind of break out. So I think the receiver room it's serviceable with those strong top 3, but it's a little bit on the weaker side for me. The rest of the team looks pretty good though. So I think overall it's pretty good. Yeah. And running back, you should be flexing running back every single week. So you only need 3 receivers out of this group. If the top 3 are good, then you're pretty solid. All right. We'll go back over here. We got swept away Mendoza hype. Yeah. Once we get Hartman on our side, we'll be unstoppable. Yeah, no, hey, the Mendoza hype train just keeps on rolling, huh? So, we might be. I don't know. I might be getting on the Mendoza hype train. I can see it. It's going to hinge on his ability to learn under center since he was shotgun only. That's a good point too, Kriyath. Yeah. That is actually a pretty good point. I would just think since he is such a good timing and detail-oriented guy, at least it seems like that outwardly, I would think he would adapt pretty well, especially since it should be an offense that helps more with the efficiency and makes it easier on him. I would think he'd be able to adapt, but yeah, you never really do know when a guy hasn't really played in that system. So that is a good point, Kriyath. Pickens was a joy to watch when Lamb was off for that stretch. I think he was wide receiver 3 overall during that run. I would believe it. I I don't know exactly, but during that run, yeah, he was super hot, just one of the hottest like red zone machines in the league. I think, yeah, like one of the top red zone receivers in the league, obviously just in general, but during that stretch when Lamb was out, he was dominant, yeah. And even when Lamb was back in, his red zone role was so nice on that Cowboys offense. Um, I sorted by regular season and regular plus playoffs, and his was 0.8 for both. What the hell? So player profiler is just straight pumping up the Tootin' yards per route run. Crazy. It must be what they consider a router or something, I guess. I guess they must have different definitions. Yeah, Pickens is a head case and not great to bring into the young locker room where he's one of the vets IMO. Yeah, he doesn't really seem like much of a culture guy. I will agree with that. Apparently in Dallas they love him though, but he also got disciplined last year 1 week. 1 week him and CD got disciplined because they decided to go out to the club or the casino the night before, and they like got in hella late. So there was 1 week I remember last year that happened. And then I think they like benched him in the first half or something, or the first quarter. Or maybe it was just the first drive as like a ceremonial thing or something. I can't remember, but there was something like that 1 week last year with Pickens and CD. Pickens works great when the older vets have a bigger voice. Agree with that. I would just bring in Debo for the year and see what the young guys can do. Yeah, I agree with the Raiders. I agree with that. I got sniped on Jaden Higgins. Had to go Mason. Oh, okay, yeah. That's fair then. If you really hated the receivers that were there, I think that's fair if they kind of got ate up before you. That's fair, yeah. Because I didn't really look at the board or whatever. But all right, so we're gonna hop into another. If something won the vote, we'll hop into that. If nothing won the vote, then we're gonna. All right, I'm voting for Superflex. All right, it was Chihuahua. So we'll do a Chihuahua. We're gonna go into another one of these. I'll count it down quick. We're gonna enter the Chihuahua in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're in the Chihuahua right now, waiting for 3. So if anyone wants to hop in. Oh, and I guess we didn't really talk about the structure last time, so I'll go over that. Like I said, it is kind of similar to just like, your normal best ball contest. A little bit smaller final, so that's nice to see with the 217 seat. So smaller than like a BBM puppy, something like that by quite a bit. 1 out of 9 advance week 15. So maybe week 15 you want to put a little bit more consideration on than like week 16, since that is the 1 out of 6. So I guess that's just something to know. Like, week 15 will be your hardest week to advance. You really maybe want to try to hone in on that a little bit if you can. Try to get some good matchups if you see them. Use it as a tiebreaker more than anything. Don't like reach on a guy just because he plays the, Dolphins week 15 or whoever is a good matchup in your mind. But like, just it could be a decent tiebreaker. That is the hardest week to get through. So, maybe week 15 you lean into that a little bit if you're stuck between two guys. All right, so in this one, so we got 0 at the 1. We got me at the 7. And I believe that's it. I don't think I recognize anyone else. So if you're in here, let me know. But I think we got me and 0 in here again. So, I think I had the 7 pick in the last one. It's fine. I mean, I don't really mind having the same pick, but we'll maybe try to switch it up, I'll go JT if he's there instead of CMC this time. Or I could even pull up like Genty, Jefferson, Amon-Ra. Any of that would be fine. I don't really have like Jonathan Taylor is obviously my favorite, but I don't really mind any of these picks. If JSM falls, we'll take him too. I probably just won't do McCaffrey because I just picked him last draft. I'll just do something different. Like I said, Jonathan Taylor is probably my favorite, but if he goes, I'm not too worried about it. Probably just take Genty if he goes. Okay, St. Brown goes. Yeah, let's just go Jonathan Taylor. We'll do exactly what I said. That week 15 correlation will lean into that a little bit. Taylor gets the Titans. Genty gets the Broncos. Let's go with Taylor. Week 15 is a 1 out of 9. I would rather have the running back playing the Titans when I can't decide, right? If I thought Genty was clearly better than Taylor, then I should definitely have picked Genty there. But with them being so close in my mind, let's just lean towards that week 15 since it is the hardest week, right? And I think that's kind of like something where like that can make sense as a tiebreaker, but I don't know if you also want to go Genty there because you think he's a little bit better, you want to switch it up and go Genty there. I think that's totally reasonable too. But we just talked about the week 15, so then we'll immediately use that. Jacobs gets Dolphins week 15. He's going to get you to week 16. All right, good to know. Good to know. We need Josh Jacobs on this team in the 4th round. Maybe we even pull him up to 31. Really, really show him something in this one. But no, I mean, hey, week 15 Dolphins. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. All right, Jonathan Taylor, Walker. I have 28% comboed. I have him paired up. Oh, right, because my Chase Brown. I might just let it go Walker. I was just saying I need some more Bowers. We were talking about Mendoza. I said I need more Bowers and Mendoza. Let's try to get it in this draft. Hopefully I don't get sniped at some point on Mendoza, but if I don't, then we can get a little bit more of both the Raiders. I'm underweight on that. I'm not very happy about being underweight on, right? Like the Brock Bowers one is so weird because I do agree so much with the sentiment that they're good tight end values down the board. There's so many of them. But Brock Bowers really is just the best tight end. He can really unlock like a JSN like target share. Realistically, it's not that crazy to think of. And I think the upside is worth it, and the single week upside is worth it. It just does make it hard to pick elite tight ends this high when there are a lot of good tight ends that go later. Like, I don't know. It just makes it a little bit harder for that position, but I definitely want some more Bowers. I'm pretty willing to fade McBride as well. So that also makes me a little bit more open to like taking Bowers kind of around the 2nd round because I know I won't have as much McBride. So I can get a little bit more of that elite tight end exposure through Bowers. Week 17 is where the money is though. So I'm not really worried about week 15 through 16. LOL. You need more Mendoza. Hey, we're planning it. We're trying to get there. We're trying to get there, Zero. We got Brock Bowers on the team. It's all set up for Fernando. So we're planning it out. We're getting it popping. That's the goal. Week 17 is where the money's at. But like you gotta get there, brother. You gotta get there. And listen, Genty and Taylor, we were debating it. I mean, his week 17 isn't great. Maybe it is though now. They don't got Myles Garrett anymore in Cleveland. So Taylor versus Cleveland, that might not be too bad. Hey, the money is on week 17, but if you can use it as a small tiebreaker one way or the other, it's never too bad, especially for an indecisive guy like me. Can't decide who I want to pick until the clock's hitting 0. If I can just be like, ooh, he plays the Titans, it makes it a little bit easier. You know what I mean? Olave plays Tampa Bay. No, but I think Olave here is pretty easily my favorite pick. I think Higgins is a little bit in consideration, but look at Olave's target volume. I think there's like 156, 100. He had 1163, 9 touchdowns. Like he had a really good year last year. I think there's room to grow in that offense for him. Obviously, the blood clot thing is a little bit scary. Hopefully, we get some updates on that pretty soon, though. But I think Olave is just there should be some room to grow in that offense from where he was. It was obviously Rattler for the first half of the year. Then it went to Tyler Shuck. And I think just with that high pass rate offense, the way Kellen Moore used them last year, I think there's still room to grow, and there's room to grow with Shuck as a passer as well. You do got to believe in Shuck a little bit for the Olave bet probably, but I think it feels like a pretty good bet, and it's a great system. And I think just another year in it with Shuck will give you even more as long as he stays healthy. So I don't know, that feels pretty good to me. Look at 12-hole, brother. Getting there may not be that hard. 12-hole. Jefferson, Rice, Kyron, McLaurin. Kind of sick. I kind of like it. No, I mean that's too much on Rice, but I don't know. I mean it could be okay. That's I don't hate it. It's kind of interesting to me. Ooh, Josh Allen at 4.6. Do I do or Josh Jacobs? I did say Josh Jacobs. You were telling me about the week 15 Miami. Let's do Josh Allen. We go Josh Allen over Josh Jacobs. Maybe the worst decision of my life. Maybe not. But I do like Josh Allen. I think in the 4th round, a guy I'm not picking quite as much. I think in the 4th round, like it feels like a good price. Like it feels like it's close enough to the other tiers of quarterbacks where it makes sense to grab them. I think the running backs in the 5th round are some of my favorite picks on the board. So it makes sense to pass and get Josh Allen there. Yeah, I think it does because in the 6th round, I like the receivers that are going to come back to me most likely. So I think it works out to get Josh Allen there. And I think it's a really good price on him. He is clearly the QB1 to me. It's just really like how much is that worth over the other guys. But I think when he falls like this, it makes it more palatable. So I like that. And then we're doing the classic young moolah, the step approach, the stud in every position. A stud in every position, rainbow strategy for others, however you want to call it. But yeah, we start with a 1-1-1-1 build. Not the most common start for me, but getting a little faller on Josh Allen, pulling up Bowers little, that's what we end up with. So, we'll see how we build out of it, but can kind of go any direction now. Yeah, I agree. Obviously, it's just like facts, but like, I think overall adding Tyson is just helpful to the overall offense, but it could impact Olave's target share some. I don't know. They are a really high pace offense though, and maybe like Shuck gets a little bit more like trust unleashed a little bit more. Granted, it didn't seem like they were holding him back too much last year, but I don't know. I think let me make this pick quick. Do I want Quinshawn or DJ Moore? I think I want the running back because even if I don't get DJ Moore back, I like a lot of these receivers. I really don't like the running backs after Quinshawn and Tootin. So I think I just take the running back first and then hope that I get basically one of these 4 receivers would be fine. Preferably one of the top 3, but Tyson would also be fine. Marvin Harrison would also be fine too. So I'm not super worried. Hopefully I get one of those receivers. I think there's a better chance of that than one of the running backs. But that feels okay. But yeah, no, I think overall though, like I think or what was it? Oh yeah, the Olave thing. I think overall I feel pretty good with Olave still. I think just in that offense, second year with Shuck, like another year in that system, and just Shuck coming out as like already being the starter, already being the guy like playing with them, preparing with them. I guess we'll kind of see, right? He has the injury with the blood clots. Tyson's been injured like all summer so far too. So I guess we'll kind of see on that front. But I don't know. I think there's just room to grow. And I've said it a few times, but I'm pretty willing to buy in on the Saints improving. So price, not really looking at price here. Kind of went, I think I kind of need to go receiver here. Jordan Tyson for the double or Marvin Harrison. I think let's go Marvin Harrison since it's only my second receiver. I don't want to tie all of my top end receiving talent into the Saints. I do like them, but I think they do have the upside to be like a top tier offense potentially as Shuck to really takes a step. But realistically, they're probably going to be more like a middle offense. Maybe they push up, but like I don't really think I want to be tied with both their top weapons as my only 2 receivers. I'm already quite a bit behind, and I wouldn't mind it, but I would prefer it if I had like a third receiver. If that was my third receiver, I would have been more open to Tyson probably. And I'm not a huge P-Wash guy. Maybe I should pick a little bit more, but I think I'm sticking to being a Brian Thomas guy. I'm just sticking to the he got kind of unlucky with the deep targets. He didn't have that dog in him because he got hit in the preseason by that Steelers guy. That just took his dog away. He had the injury in the season as well. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff with BTJ, a lot of excuses it seems like you can make. How true are they? How much will they matter? Is Parker Washington just a slot demon? I don't know. I have a hard time. I also have a hard time with Parker Washington because I do think if Travis Hunter gets more snaps, they basically come directly out of Parker Washington. Because it's like, for anybody who says Parker Washington's the best receiver on the Jaguars, I think he's worse than Travis Hunter at that same role. I just think Hunter doesn't get the consistent playing time. but I think Hunter is arguably the best receiver on the team if he's on the field on offense. And I think you kind of saw that last year as the snaps went up, like the performances really did go up. Small sample, super small sample, but I think you see the upside with Hunter on the field. And that worries me about Parker in that sense. It worries me that they run more 12, even if they're not one of the like ultra super like running 12 every play thing, even if it increases some, if that gets Parker off the field and like at a 6th round price, it just worries me. I think there's a lot of factors with him that worry me. His breakout's nice, but his breakout's like, yeah, if you just look at only half the season and you look at the small sample, like he broke out in his 3rd or 4th year, it's like I don't know. It makes me have a lot of pause on old Parker Washington, but maybe I should pick a little more. But I have a lot of question marks on him, I feel like. I kind of like these running backs, Chuba on a faller. I don't hate it. I think I'll go Jaden Reed over Alec Pierce. A lot of times there I'm picking Alec Pierce, but I'm a little overweight. We'll kind of hold off on his ankle being all messed up. He falls in some lobbies too. Maybe we get him back somehow. But I don't mind Jaden Reed. I like his price. I don't mind grabbing more. I think they're pretty comparable where they go. Man, this dumbass sniped my Caleb double. Oh yeah, let's see it. Oh, Caleb and Dak. Did he have Pickens? Yeah. Wow, that's weird. I wonder why he picked Caleb there if he was going to pick Dak. Oh, maybe just to snipe you, I guess. Yeah, that is really weird to take Caleb and then Dak right after. I mean, no Badger, who knows how much he knows about the best balls, but he knew to stack up his Dak with Pickens. So, yeah, kind of crazy right there when he had the double and he didn't have any pieces. Unfortunate, zero unfortunate. We'll see how you build out of it. And when I review the team, I'm not giving you any of the context. I'm definitely going to see the 2 Chicago players and ask why you didn't get Caleb. That will be coming in the team review. So, be ready. All right. So what do we want here? I mean, the running backs, they're pushing running backs to me. Zero told me I'm going to learn about this RJ Harvey fellow. Well, I say I'm going to learn another day because we're picking Jordan Addison over him. RJ Harvey, the bum on Denver. No, RJ Harvey's a fine pick, but we'll go Jordan Addison. I want a little bit more help at receiver. We got Taylor and Quinshon. That's pretty safe. We'll push it a little bit at running back, maybe double up on this next turn. Try to rip like a 1-4-4-1, something like that. But yeah, I was thinking about Harvey, but I do like some Addison. Give me some more Addison. Kyler's been falling a little bit too. I wouldn't mind grabbing Kyler being done at QB. So, I like the Addison pick. Thought about Harvey too, but I like Addison. I like some of the running backs in the next couple rounds. So that kind of lead me away from him. Every casual knows stack up Dak. Yeah, that's true. If you're in on them boys, then you're in on them boys. That's just how it goes, right? Either you're in on them boys or you're out. So if he's in on them, then fair enough. Fair play to him. The guy had Purdy too with Evans. Damn, yeah, that's weird then that he okay, there you go. So you get him back, he had the Purdy Evans, you take it from him. Go Purdy Pearsall. I respect it. I actually like doing that Purdy Pearsall thing on the turn. It's either Purdy Pearsall or I thought this guy was about to do Laporta Goff. Because that's one of my other favorites. You do Laporta Goff, Purdy Pearsall, either of those. Mahomes Worthy can be nice if he falls. But yeah, one of the benefits of being on the turn is like not having to worry when you hit that double tap. Like you can just double tap a stack like that. Don't have to try to push someone, hope they make it around the turn, stuff like that. So that's always nice doing the little quick, easy stacks like that. And you even got to snipe the guy. He might have wanted Purdy, so get to take it from him. That always feels good. You can tell yourself he was definitely going to pick him. All right, so the quarterbacks go a little. Should I push Kyler around this turn? Probably. Do I want Jonathan Brooks or Pittman, though? Well, I guess if I'm getting Kyler, I should go with the running back. I was going to go Pittman and then, like, around the turn grab a receiver. But if I'm planning on Kyler, then I should grab a running back first. So I think I need a running back off this turn. I either needed like Brooks, Rashad, or Aaron Jones, basically, or Gainwell. I needed one of them, I think, on this turn. So grabbing Brooks made sense. And then because I think Kyler will come back most likely. We'll see though. But I think Brooks made sense there for that reason. I would kind of like a receiver, especially like Pittman, I was really looking at. With him gone, I'm looking at a little bit less. With Kyler gone, I'm really hoping I get Aaron Jones. If I don't, I will probably take Jacoby Myers. I think these are the two guys on my list now because I wouldn't mind a fifth receiver. I think Jacoby's good. He goes. Hopefully this guy. Okay, we get Aaron Jones. That's fine. Do I want a quarterback? Do I want Tyler Shuck? I have Olave. Do I want Tyler Shuck or Aaron Jones? We'll go Shuck. We'll go Aaron Jones. Okay, we got an Aaron Jones. It froze for a second and it let us switch it at the last second again. I think I feel pretty good with that. I had a thought back to that comment earlier about building the later QB rooms. It made me think about it. I was thinking maybe I push the QB a little bit harder. I've already kind of committed that, this build should almost for sure have Mendoza after all the discourse on him. I pulled up Brock Bowers a little just so I get the Mendoza stack. So, unless Zero, I'll try not to give him the chance, but unless Zero screws me out of turn, then I'll probably have a Mendoza team. So I think push quarterback a little. We didn't need to pick Shuck there. We got Josh Allen for a reason. When you spend a pick that high on a quarterback, he better be the QB1. That's what I picked him for. So we'll believe in Josh Allen a little bit and push it a little harder for that second and third QB. I don't mind that. I could have done Laporta with Goff, but that's boring. Yeah, no. Oh yeah, and Laporta. Oh yeah, Laporta went. Yeah. Laporta went like right before you on that one. So yeah, unfortunate. And this guy didn't take it, which I mean is fine. Dobbins is a fine pick. He already had Hurts, but I don't know. I really do love doing the Laporta Goff. It's always a nice turn. But like you said, it is a little boring. That one guy has a 1-6-1-1 build. 1-6. Oh, this guy 1-6-2-1 now. He's building up the receiver room now. So he went JSN, Devon Achane, Trey McBride, Josh Jacobs, Trevion, Jadarian Price on a nice faller, 68. So and that was his fourth RB was Jadarian Price. Then Warren and Dowdle. I think if he doesn't pick, no, he probably needs to get rid of two of them. I was gonna say if he doesn't get rid of Jadarian Price, is this team kind of sick? Like if he takes Jordan Tyson instead, and maybe a little, but it's probably still too much at running back. Do I want Dalton Kincaid as my tight end too? I mean, if it autos Jaden Higgins, I'm not too upset about it. Yeah, we went Shakir. We got the stack with Josh Allen. I was a little bit between Shakir and Kincaid. Obviously, kind of same idea as why I pushed Shuck, or not push Shuck, but just didn't pick him, is like I really don't need to force a tight end. If they want to give me Kincaid back, I will probably take him. But if they don't, then I can just wait on tight end. I have the tight end one. I have the QB one. That affords me the freedom to really push it at the other QBs and tight ends, right? I have the number one at both positions. That's how I picked them. That's the capital I spent. For this team, it is the belief they're number ones. So, and I do believe they're number ones. I mean, Josh Allen and Brock Bowers are pretty clearly QB1, tight end one, at least to me. But yeah, so I gotta, I think I want to treat them like that. I don't want to really try to reach to get my QB2 or tight end two. If someone gives me a good value, then I don't mind it. But yeah, I don't need to reach on it and force it. Another receiver wouldn't be bad. Coker, Travis Hunter, Shaheed. I probably like Travis Hunter the most. I like Coker a lot too. I have a lot of Coker. Shaheed kind of opens me up for a quarterback. Will Darnold come back? Probably not because JSN goes before me. So we just grabbed Travis Hunter. I thought about trying to open myself up to that Darnold stack. I don't think it's likely that he comes back. That would be quite a bit after his ADP. And he goes right there. But yeah, just with the JSN drafter, I figured that there wasn't a good chance Darnold came back. So I'll go Hunter over Rashid Shaheed there. I think I do prefer Hunter's upside, and I do think I got a decent amount of safety, at least in my receiver room. So, maybe I can take a little bit more risk with Hunter. And him and Shaheed are similar, where they're probably not going to have very high weekly floors. He could have passed on the Steelers RBs. Yeah, I think if he could have passed on either the Steelers RBs or Price and one of them, then I think the team looks a lot better. And then you just get a fifth later or something if you want. I think the team looks way better that way. He just spent too much. Because it's now he has wide receiver 2 and 3, Wandale and Diggs, which they should be decently consistent, but it's what's really the ceiling for those guys? Maybe Diggs has a decent ceiling, but to rely on them as your 2 and 3, and then your 4 is going to be even worse than that by 2 full rounds. I mean, that's going to be brutal for him. Yeah, it's definitely pushed it too hard. I don't think he's going to be able to recover from that unless Puka Nacua is sitting somewhere later and he puts him on his team. Alrighty. So here, I wouldn't mind the CJ Stroud if I had to. I mean, CJ, Bryce Young. I like CJ more than Bryce Young, so I don't mind that. And then just get Mendoza. I think I want a 3 QB build with Mendoza. I don't know. Am I wrong for that? Am I wrong for wanting a 3 QB 3 quarterback build with Mendoza and Josh Allen? Is that crazy? Let me know. Damn, all right. So the quarterbacks kind of go. I think we can push Mendoza here, but I probably need to pick him on the way back. Do I take Bryce Young? Do I get the 3rd quarterback? Or do I get the running back? Oh, we missed it. That's fine. I like Bryce Young. And we had Jonathan Brooks, so that feels good. I don't mind it. I'm going to pick Mendoza on the way back here as long as he doesn't go. He shouldn't go. But, maybe if I could have switched it to Brenton Strange, that was kind of who I was thinking last second. I didn't love the running backs. I thought about Woody Marks. I'm not a huge Woody Marks guy, is kind of the thing. But I did think a little bit about the running backs there. But I did kind of want to secure that QB spot. I don't know. This is me and me being a little bit less confident Mendoza. Maybe it's biting me, make me overspend at quarterback a little. So I don't know. I don't mind it though, and I do have him stacked up. Right, I had him stacked up with Jonathan Brooks. I think it's fine for floor, especially with Josh Allen having an early bye. If Kirk does start through week 7, which I think is definitely on the table, maybe it's not the most likely, but it's very possible. I think it's worthwhile to have Bryce Young to maybe hold over that week. And then we still get our Mendoza there. We pulled him up about 10 picks, but this late, that's fine. I really wanted the stack. I kind of wanted to make a point about it, right? Because we were talking a lot about Mendoza. I want to get him on this team with Bowers. So we set it up. We got it done. I could not trust Zero to not take him from me. So we had to grab him right there. And I think that's a reasonable price, 162. Bob Ruthofer, Bobber, the Hall of Famer. I don't know how to say it, but Bob, what's up, bro? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. But Bowers or McBride, and why? I believe in Brock Bowers significantly more. I think to me, they're both very clearly the 1 and 2 tight ends in the NFL. I think they're both extreme talents. I think Bowers, they both can win at all levels of the field. I was going to say Bowers is maybe a little bit better downfield winner, but McBride's also an excellent downfield winner. They can both kind of do it all. I think that the big difference to me is I believe more in Clint Kubiak's system. I believe more in the quarterback play that we'll get out of Mendoza and Kirk Cousins. And I think that offensive system, how effective it was in Seattle last year, we really saw that, going off the play action, going off using the run to set up more efficient passing. I think that'll be a lot better for Bowers, and he'll really be the alpha in that offense. Where I think McBride, there's a lot more receiving talent around him, most likely. There's Jeremiah Love, which is comparable to a Genti now, right? And then I think Marvin Harrison is clearly a bigger competition than anything on the Raiders. I also think the quarterback play on the Cardinals will be worse. I also think McBride's points a lot of, like, not points, but I think his overall finish last year was buoyed up a lot by them being so pass heavy near the end. I mean, they led the league in pass attempts. I don't think that they hit that same pass rate this year. Almost no chance, especially with the stronger running games. So I think that the Cardinals pass rate falls and McBride has more of a chance of having other like legitimate receiving weapons around him that take away work. And I have less overall like confidence in their offensive system and coordinator than I do with Kubiak. So I think for those reasons, I'm mainly going Bowers for that. But I think both can be fine picks, and they are clearly the top two. I'm a little bit more out on McBride because, like I said, kind of more my problems with the team as a whole. We can go Hawkinson there. We'll get a second tight end. That feels fine. I think that's a good range to grab my second tight end. Could have waited one more round, got like a Dulcich, Gunnar Helm, Pat Fry. But I think a Hawkinson's fine, especially when I didn't have any like stacked ones left really, unless I wanted JT Sanders last round. But Hawkinson's fine, should have a good role. So second tight end with Bowers totally feels good. Would have liked to Schultz even more. But yeah, I think for those reasons, I'm leaning more towards Bowers. That's my personal kind of like take on it. But I'm also a little bit lower on the Cardinals as a whole, and I would say one thing that factors into it is I'm pretty willing to buy into like Marvin Harrison possibly taking a step this year. And I do think that takes away from McBride more. And we already saw Michael Wilson be efficient too. So, that could also take away from McBride as well. I just think for those reasons too, like just more competition, like Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison could legit like do something on the field. I mean, Michael Wilson did actually show it last year some too. All right, so here I think we're going Ray Davis. We have Buffalo. We don't have James Cook. If James Cook goes down, I believe Ray Davis is the pretty clear starter. Obviously, Ty Johnson will always get some receiving work no matter what, but I believe Ray Davis will get the bulk of the carries. Whenever he's gotten the bulk of the carries, he's been very effective with it. So, always like grabbing some Ray Davis, had some Buffalo going. Why not? Obviously, in the last round, I think my last round pick is very obvious unless Zero snipes me on it. So my last pick, I'll reveal it in a minute, but it goes with the Buffalo. It's a third-year breakout. So we'll see if we can get it or not. Your exposure makes me think you like Bryce more. Yeah, no, I do like Bryce. I think he's hella cheap. Bryce Young. What's wrong with Bryce Young? He's 14%. He's QB 26. Is he the best? No, he's not. But he's okay, and he had some nice spike weeks too. That's the thing with Bryce Young. Like Bryce Young actually had some pretty nice spike weeks last year in fantasy. And I think that kind of matters, right? The rushing, the little bit of goal line role he can even get, like just his like scrambling ability and rushing, it really can give him it can give him some pretty nice finishes. Like week 11, he scored 31 points. Week 13, he scored 22. I don't know. I guess he has a couple 20s in here. Not the craziest. He did score 30, though. He put up a 30 burger, you know what I'm saying? Against Atlanta, threw for 448, 3 touchdowns. You love to see that. I don't know. But I do think, the earlier buys and stuff, I think with Mendoza, I think just covering week 7 alone, the possibility that Mendoza's not starting makes Bryce Young kind of worth it. All right, we got to go with Keon Coleman here. I picked Keon Coleman earlier in the draft. Really regret doing that. Wish I hadn't. We do 3 straight week 7 buy receivers to end it out, but we had 4 above that. So, it's fine. We might even grab an 8th receiver. We'll see. But we grabbed Keon, third-year breakout, young, athletic. We were saying it earlier. How much do I believe what I'm saying? I don't really know, but he is young and athletic. We had a Josh Allen stack. If they want to talk him up, they want to say he's going to have a role. I probably already have too much. I think it said I have like 7%, which is a little bit excessive on old Keon Coleman, but we'll grab him here and there, especially stacked up with Josh Allen. I don't have the most faith in him. I'm going to keep it real, but I don't think he's the worst pick either, especially this late. You don't have a ton of faith in a lot of the guys. All I'm either going Katron or Cooper Kupp, I think. I probably don't need a running back. My running backs are pretty good. I probably could use a receiver more, maybe some more floor. I don't mind a Cooper Kupp. Week 17 against my Carolina. Maybe we could even grab old Torrey Horton. Torrey Horton's gone. Nice. This guy knows some fucking ball. Smile Sears knows ball. Shout out him picking Torrey Horton. We'll draft Cooper Kupp there, though. I think that feels fine for my last pick. Don't hate it at all, but Cooper Kupp, a little bit safer floor. We waited a little bit somewhere down here for a receiver. I don't know. It's an okay pick. I don't hate it. I don't love it. Maybe like a Chris Brazzle would have been okay, but I don't know. It's okay. Maybe like a Chris Brazzle if I would have thought about it. We got a little bit safer with Kupp, but I don't hate it. But all right. So if you take Bryce Young, you do need 3 QB because Bryce will get benched. I don't think so, brother. I don't think so. Listen to the GM speak about Bryce Young. They aren't looking to extend him. Yeah, but who's his backup? Is it still Red Rifle? Is it Andy Dalton? I mean, like, I don't know. I think they'd still play him even if they weren't gonna extend him. I just don't. Do they have like a young guy that matters? Like, I don't know. I guess that's just what worries me. Pickett. Okay, Dalton is an Eagle. Pickett. Yeah, I mean, man, I don't know. It seems hard to see him getting benched for Pickett, but if he got injured, they'll be on the hook. If Bryce did? What do you mean? How are they on the hook if they're not extending them? What do you? I don't get what you mean. Because they already picked up his 5th-year option for next year though. So like, it's already guaranteed. The injury thing doesn't make. I don't think that makes sense, but because he's already they already did it for next year though. They already did the 5th-year option. The Panthers picked up his 5th-year option. So he's signed fully for next year for $26 million. So I don't think it matters if he got hurt or not this year. Unless maybe, but if they already took it, I think it's guaranteed. I don't think it makes a difference. So I don't know. I think I'd push back on that point. I don't really agree there. I don't think that's how his contract works. Like compared to like a guy who's in the extension already where it's like not guaranteed. I think Bryce Young's fully guaranteed either way. So we good. We ready to ride. We're ready to ride with Bryce Young, baby. They're locked up to this guy for 2 more years. They can't do shit about it. So, if they really are thinking about benching him, they're going to do it next year. This year's a free roll, baby. It's all about Bryce Young. We're going to see how far he can make it. But all right. So I think we're probably going to be heading out after this one. I will look at mine and Zero's teams, but we'll probably call it a day after this. I'm going to be back on Sunday. I think I'm going to do one of my Dalmatians on stream and then maybe some of these after. And then I might be back tomorrow ripping some in the afternoon. Not 100% sure. Like, I think I got some plans tomorrow, like kind of later, but I might do some kind of earlier in the day, just pop in, do a draft or two, something like that tomorrow. But yeah, I'll go over the teams quick and catch up with anything else to you guys. And then I'll probably be heading out for today though. So we got a 3-5-8-2. We got Josh Allen, Bryce Young, Fernando Mendoza, the GOAT. No, but I think quarterback room's good. Anything with Josh Allen, 3 QBs is pretty much good, but I think that's good. Waited a while, got some guys I like the upside on later. Got Josh Allen holding it down up top, so like that. Then we got Jonathan Taylor, Quinshawn, Jonathan Brooks, Aaron Jones, Ray Davis. Feel good with the running back room overall, right? I usually I would like to have a stronger fifth maybe than Ray Davis, someone who can actually get on the field a little bit without an injury. But I think with my top 4 all being guys that should get on the field, should have decent roles, especially my top 2 and Aaron Jones. Brooks a little more questionable, but maybe a little more upside than like an Aaron Jones. But But I think with those 4, I feel pretty good overall. They should all have roles, and I think at least 3 out of the 4, I feel pretty confident in them having like pretty good roles. And then receiver, we go Olave, Marvin Harrison, Jaden Reed, Jordan Addison, Khalil Shakir, Travis Hunter, Keon Coleman, Cooper Kupp, and then Bowers Hockenson. I think Bowers Hockenson is fine. Kind of same idea where like maybe a third would have been okay to give me a little bit more floor protection or a little bit better guy than Hawk. But with Bowers, I pick him in the second round. He's a tight end. He's got to carry that spot. So, I'm basically betting on him carrying the spot. Hawkinson maybe help cover a bye or a low week here and there. So tight end feels fine. Receiver feels okay. It's not great. Olave Harrison, Harrison's a little bit weaker receiver too. Actually a pretty weak receiver too. I think Reed and Addison kind of double tapping there makes me feel okay. They give me some upside, some spike week upside. Get Shakir, get a little bit more floor, a little bit more safety. Hunter go for some spikes, not just 2 late darts. Kind of also a mixture, maybe Keon Coleman's basically 0. Maybe he could somehow spike, but Cooper Kupp just kind of more safer. So I did kind of layer it out okay, but I do think I pushed it a little bit at receiver. So, need some of these guys to work out, but I think it's serviceable. It's okay at receiver. And I think my other rooms all feel pretty strong. I have the tight end one, the QB one with Bowers and Josh Allen. So obviously that pulls away a lot from my rooms. And then I still got a decent running back room, which I think kind of explains why receiver is my weakest. But I think I did enough to make it okay, to make it passable. So overall, pretty happy with this team. Pretty happy with how the teams came out today for the most part, actually. I think the first team I built was probably the worst one of the day because I took that on stat. It wasn't on stat Caleb Williams, but it was Caleb with Swift. So that was probably my worst team of the day. I think both of these Chihuahua teams came out pretty well, though. So pretty happy with them both. Let's take a look at Zero's team really quick, and then we'll get out of here. So Zero went 3-5-8-2, Brock Purdy, Tyler Shuck, Aaron Rodgers, good QB room like that. You kind of have that double week 8 thing like I had going a couple drafts ago. So, pick up Rodgers near the end, get it covered like that. I like those 3. That's playing strong. Gibbs, Love, Pollard, Krosky, Merritt, Brian Robinson. Pretty good. You get a really strong top 2 double anchor, and then Pollard as the third. Like that, just you can still hit flex with running back pretty often with that probably. And even if not, you have really strong floor, really safe, a lot of safety with Pollard as your third there. Then Jacory, kind of an upside swing, but split backfield should get on the field. Brian Robinson should get on the field, so maybe hit some weeks with a touchdown. So overall, the running back room, super strong double anchor, and having Pollard as the third especially. And I think the last 2 are fine, as their 4 and 5. So the running back room quite a bit. Zay Flowers, Rome, Jordan Tyson, Ricky, Trey Tucker, Denzel Boston, Dontavian Wicks, Jahan Dotson. Pretty solid, yeah. I think so. With your 4th as Ricky, 3rd is Tyson. Yeah, I think you're pretty solid because Roman Zay should be, pretty solid. I guess you're kind of putting some heavier faith in Rome to fill out that spot, but I think that's probably fine. And you did do good volume. You got 4 by Ricky, 4 by in top 100. So I think that's pretty good. Got Tucker, got Boston, Wicks, Dotson. So did a little bit more volume. Not sure how much Dotson will help out the lineup, but pick 216. I can't hate too hard. And especially, I picked Cooper Kupp and Keon Coleman, so I can't hate too much. But I think receiver's probably fine. It's probably your thinnest room, but it's serviceable. It should be good. And your top 4 are pretty good, Then get Trey Tucker and Boston, some fan favorites later. Wicks, fan favorite. You go Loveland, Freiermuth. I think that's fine at tight end. Got an elite guy, a guy who's consistently going to be a starter, so that's solid. I think I like the team quite a bit overall. It's not like running back. Running back is good. It relies pretty heavily on that double anchor, but I think having Pollard there helps, like I was saying. But I think running back feels pretty good. Receiver is the only one that feels maybe just a little bit dicey to me, and I think you're still fine. I think as long as these guys especially are healthy, then you're probably really fine. If Tyson, Ricky, and Rome are all healthy, you're probably cruising. So yeah, pretty solid overall. Definitely like the team. But so Panthers are really fucked. Yeah, exactly, brother. Exactly. They've locked into being fucked. Oh damn, I looked it up. Panthers can't even save any money. They reach so hard on Bryce. LOL. Yeah, because with that 5th year, it's just fully guaranteed. You're locked. You have to do it a year before, and then you're just locked in. And I mean, I think it's fair because it's a good amount of money for Bryce Young, but like if Bryce Young was an actual like great quarterback, right? If he was Mahomes, then when he gets the 5th-year option, it's actually a bargain, right? So it's like I think it's a good setup for them because 26 mil for Bryce Young is still pretty reasonable for a starting quarterback, even if he's kind of mid. I mean, hey, don't forget the Panthers were a fucking playoff team last year. So like let's not forget. Maybe they got pretty lucky, but they were a playoff team. With Bryce Young at the helm for most of it. So but no, I mean, is he the best? No. Is he cheap with a little bit of rushing? Yes. Do I like some of their weapons? Also, yes. I like their coach too. But overall, not the highest pace of play, not the best quarterback. So I can't push back too hard on the Bryce Young hate. I'm not gonna lie. Can't. Thanks, Herman. Oh yeah, of course. And always a good time. Always a good time drafting, chatting with you guys. And always a good time chatting with Zero. Getting in the drafts, reviewing them. Let's not forget, all it took was Bucks and Falcons falling apart. Yeah, no, that's true. Those teams didn't do great. It's not like the Panthers were world beaters. But yeah, throw it as a little feather in Bryce Young's cap, helping him from the benching, right? He went to the playoff. That gives you at least one extra game over the benching. But no, I don't know. I don't know. I get the Bryce Young hate though. I'm not gonna push back too hard, like I said. But all right, I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for us. Like I said, definitely back Sunday. Maybe back tomorrow early in the day, but we'll kind of see. But thanks everyone for stopping by, chatting, drafting, always a good time. And we got in some good conversations. I might be picking a little bit more Mendoza, maybe just a little bit less of that Bryce Young, switch some of it over to Mendoza. But always a good time, having the conversations, talking some ball. Thanks guys for stopping by, drafting with me, chatting, and peace.